The story starts off with someone announcing to everyone else in a village that the day is getting dark, and telling them to quickly go back home, as it hasn't been peaceful recently. He also tells them to light the incense and close their door properly, to not let the old black snake get into their house, as the villagers start hurrying home. One says he heard it devoured 2 more people at the mountain god temple a few days ago. Another says he didn't hear anything about that. It's just that a lot of chickens and ducks have disappeared recently. A young boy tells his dad that they should bring their chicken into the house too. His dad says true, if they are eaten by that old black snake, it'll be a huge loss. Then he irritatedly says they should go quickly and asks why this place is so chilly as he looks at the secluded temple, while he and his son start heading back home. Meanwhile, a big black snake who's inside the temple questions if the old black snake they're talking about is him. But he doesn't remember being old, nor does he think he's scary, as he wriggles around the god statue inside the temple. Then he thinks, anyway, those 2 people from a few days back were indeed devoured by him. A person came looking for help as his master called him a human-shaped pill, and told him he must pay with his life, as after feeding him so many of his medicinal herbs, if he thinks he'd let him escape. The person cried in front of the mountain god statue and told him that he doesn't want to be eaten. He begged him to help him. He requested him to help him. The black serpent thinks, back then, he couldn't understand what they were saying, but that guy looked really miserable. So he decided to end his suffering by gobbling him up into his stomach in one go. Then another person came in, who shouted no, his human-shaped pill. The black serpent recalls that he also looked miserable and pitiful. The person shouted at him that that person was a human-shaped pill that he spent 10 years refining, so he told him to give it back to him, calling him a beast. The black serpent thinks that's why he let the 2 miserable people reunite, as he excitedly gobbled him up into his stomach as well. But he didn't expect that after he devoured them, he would suddenly have a breakthrough, as not only did he develop a demon core, but he also awakened intelligence. And from then onwards, he learned a lot of dangerous and scary things that he didn't know previously. The black serpent remembers some black-clothed humans chasing him around and turns out they were called snake catchers. They all were cultivators from the snake catcher sect. He once witnessed them encircling an enormous and found that those human cultivators were really strong. The black serpent also learned that cultivators can keep increasing their strength as they cultivate. Kai refinement stage, foundation establishment stage, core formation stage, and even nascent soul stage, so he understands that all his previous escapes were due to luck. The black serpent realized that humans are scary, and cultivators are scarier. It wasn't easy for him to awaken his intelligence, so he must survive. He believes that hunting raptors and humans have too many risks. Stealing poultry is safer. Right then, his stomach growls and he realizes that he's hungry again. The black serpent seems irritated as not only a couple of chickens and ducks don't fill him anymore, but they are also getting harder to steal. Then he thinks, hold on. He remembers now. He heard that the Chen clan's village has many rich people who raise pigs. He should try stealing there, so then he starts heading there. As the black serpent heads out, he looks at a painting of people and thinks, by the way, humans like to name themselves, so he should give himself a name. These humans keep calling him Old Snake, but he's not that old, so he says alright, as he decides to call himself Snaky. After that, he goes to the Chen clan's village and comes across a pigsty, so he excitedly thinks he found it. Snaky rises up to look at the food ahead of him and says, these fat pigs look big enough to fill his stomach. He looks at the houses and guesses the humans who raise these pigs have already gone to bed. Then he won't hold back, as Snaky picks one up and starts swallowing it whole, which terrifies the other pigs, causing them to scream, and one starts running. Snaky prays it stops screaming, as he's going to get him killed if he attracts people, and thinks, in that case, he'll have to devour it too, as he grabs that pig and swallows it whole as well. After that, he lets out a burp and gladly says he's full, and that he thinks he ate too much. But Snaky thinks that there are still hours to go before humans start their day, so he should digest for a bit first before he goes, as he falls asleep. 2 hours later, some humans show up there and one beats up another, yelling at him, asking how dare a brat like him steal his woman. Another person calls him Big Bro and tells him to stop hitting him, as Chen Fan seems to have stopped breathing. But the Big Bro asks, so what if he's dead? How dare he steal young Master Q's woman? He must bear the consequences, and tells the other guy to give him a hand, while Snaky wakes up hearing the commotion and worriedly thinks he accidentally fell asleep. Someone is coming. He believes that humans are scary and he has to hide, so he hurriedly gets up on a roof to hide, while the Big Bro orders the other guy to throw Chen Fan into the pigsty, calling him a brat. Snaky understands he can only hide for now and hopes they won't notice him, while the other guy tells Big Bro that Chen Fan stopped breathing, but Big Bro says it's good, they can just feed him to the pigs. After that, the two throw him in there and start heading back saying alright, they should go, it's so stinky, but Big Bro questions if he imagined it, why the pigs have decreased in number. After they leave, Snaky peeks out to look at Chen Fan's dead body, and wonders if it's a dead human. He thinks they say a dead human is bad luck, so he better get out of there quickly. But right at that moment, Chen Fan opens his eyes, which shocks Snaky. He worriedly thinks he's alive and questions if he came back to life, if he was pretending to be dead, while Chen Fan coughs out blood as he slowly gets up and says finally. Then he starts laughing, saying this immortal has finally someone and reincarnated, and if his name was Chen Fan. What a coincidence, the owner of this body shared the same name as this immortal. He calls him a cultivation trash, as his engagement was called off, even his core was destroyed, and says whatever, the immortal inheriting his body'll get revenge for him, while Snaky wonders who he's talking to. Chen Fan continues he won't let those humiliate him and run away, then he tells his body if it hadn't been possessed by him, he would have died, while Snaky trembles thinking this won't do. He has to run quickly. But right then, Chen Fan looks back straight at him and surprisedly says it seems there's a spiritual beast on top of the roof. And Snaky frightenedly starts questioning if he was discovered, if he just said he's an immortal, if he's a high-level cultivator. He doesn't want to hear that he's also a snake catcher. He keeps wondering what he should do, as if he's really a snake catcher he'll definitely die that night. But then, Chen Fan sits down irritatedly, it's just a low-level spiritual beast. It's not even worth it. He starts focusing as he says he just has to circulate his energy to heal, and release his spiritual energy to scare it away. Right then, a cauldron housing a dragon's spirit appears and Chen Fan excitedly says he didn't expect that the supreme treasure of the demon clan, Divine Demon Cauldron, would also reincarnate with his divine sense. He tells the ancient dragon of the void that he miscalculated. While Snaky thinks he's done for, the snake catcher has started to cast spells. He's going to kill him. He must have noticed that he devoured 2 pigs. But then, he thinks no, he can't die just like that, and wonders if he should return the pigs. But he almost finished digesting them. Chen Fan chants, heaven and earth as the grand chessboard, all souls as pieces in his accord. In this lifetime, this Chen Fan's vow is true, while Snaky keeps wondering what he should do. Then he thinks he has no other choice. He forced him to do this, as Snaky lunges at Chen Fan right as Chen Fan finishes his chant saying, to trample this world beneath his shoe. Snaky grabs his body in one fell swoop and tries his best to completely swallow him, which startles Chen Fan. Then Snaky gulps as he manages to completely put him inside his mouth, and excitedly thinks, he did it, he did it. But he thinks no, he can't relax just yet, as he hurriedly starts to run away from there thinking this place isn't safe. He shouldn't stay here too long. Meanwhile, Chen Fan seems confused to find himself inside his belly. Then he furiously asks him how dare a lowly first-level spiritual beast like him ambushes him. He clenches his fist telling Snaky that he gave him a chance, but instead of running away if he tried to devour him, so he has invited his own doom, as Chen Fan gathers energy. Then he starts punching all over the place with a tremendous amount of force from inside Snaky's stomach using his spell, Fury of Boundless Ocean. At that, Snaky restlessly moves around and keeps screeching out loud as he finds it insanely hurting. He worriedly wonders if he's not dead yet, how he can still cast spells inside his stomach. Meanwhile, Chen Fan keeps on punching and kicking him from inside his stomach and Snaky thinks ouch, it hurts. However, he thinks no, he mustn't panic. He still has, but right then, Chen Fan gets close to Snaky's demon core and excitedly says he found it, which shocks Snaky. Chen Fan tries to get hold of it and surprisedly says it seems there's a demonic core protective shield. So he asks if he was acting arrogant just because of this. Snaky terrifiedly thinks no, that's his lifeline. Then Chen Fan manages to get through to the demon core and it starts cracking as he laughs maniacally and tells Snaky to die. Because of all that, blood starts spurting out of Snaky from everywhere as he devastatedly calls out for his demon core and thinks snake catchers are too scary. His whole body falls to the ground as it starts giving up. He thinks it hurts and wonders if this is the end. He can't move anymore. This is so frustrating. He worked so hard to condense his demon core and even awakened his intelligence. Tears start dripping from his eyes as he thinks if he had known this would happen, even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't have come here to steal those filthy pigs. After that, Chen Fan excitedly starts chomping on his flesh thinking, how weak. It's good though, he can eat some snake meat to nourish himself. Then suddenly, a bright light flashes inside there and Chen Fan finds the cauldron from before floating inside. He surprisedly asks why the divine demonic cauldron came out. Chen Fan tries his best to reach out to it, telling it to come back to him, but the cauldron keeps moving towards Snaky's broken demon core. Chen Fan anxiously questions why he can't retrieve it, how this is possible, and then, as the cauldron gets close to the demonic core, a bright light again envelopes the whole place. Chen Fan covers his eyes as he finds it too hard to look. He says it's too shiny and worriedly asks what's happening. After that, he sees the huge dragon from before menacingly looking at him and finds it hard to believe, as he asks if the divine demonic cauldron absorbed the beast's demon core fragments. Chen Fan worriedly questions his divine demonic cauldron, why it's helping this beast. He doesn't want to hear that this beast is not an ordinary spiritual snake. Then he thinks it's bad, as the cauldron makes a sound and the dragon lets out a thunderous roar, which sends out insanely powerful flames at Chen Fan, causing him to scream in pain. The flames come out of Snaky's stomach and go up to his other body parts that were torn apart. Inside, Chen Fan keeps screaming as loud as he can because of the unbearable pain and says he's an immortal. But it's no use, as his body disintegrates into nothingness. Sometime later, the sun starts rising, and countless shiny butterflies swarm around the Snaky's severed body portions. Witnessing all the chaos throughout the night, the pigs that are still alive tremble in fear, while Snaky wakes up thinking it hurts. He keeps sobbing, thinking that his demon core is completely gone. However, something seems different about him. After that, all the pigs there start chomping on Snaky's body as it remains there still. A while later, the tail starts rising up and takes one pig with it, which startles the others. Snaky tosses it away, telling them not to bite his tail. He chases them away, saying he'll devour them. As they bit his, then he stops. He looks at his tail and finds several cuts on it. He gets frustrated because of it and calls them damn pigs. But he wonders why he's still alive. He thinks he remembers that his demon core was crushed by that immortal, and the demon core is the base of every demon beast's cultivation. So he distressedly asks how one can cultivate without it, and puts his face on the ground, saying it's all over now. But then, Snaky says wait and questions how he's still alive if the demon core is shattered, if it could be. He checks inside his stomach and finds a cauldron. He asks if that's the demon god cauldron that Chen Fan spoke of. Snaky confusedly wonders how it ended up in the place of his demon core, if it could be that it replaced his demon core and saved his life. It's not only that. He surprisedly asks how he can see inside his own body, and he can see inside other things in his surroundings too. Snaky wonders if this is divine perception, as he's able to see inside the pigs and trees as well, and thinks great, that's a skill only cultivators have, and he can do it now too. He finds that he can even see with his eyes closed. It's so clear, now it will be much easier to hunt for food and avoid the vicious beasts and humans. But then, Snaky thinks wait, it's not all, as he checks inside his brain and finds that it looks like a lot of things have been poured in again. He sees a diagram of a human body where different elements are brightly lit up and excitedly thinks this is that young man's cultivation path. Snaky says that must be it, and his head is hurting. He must fix this. He doesn't know what this is, but it can definitely heal his injuries. As he curls up his body and closes his eyes to focus, thinking he'll try to imitate his meditation. He remembers that he said heaven and earth are the chessboard, and all beings are the pieces, then the demon core will start to move. Right at that moment, the cauldron inside his body does start moving and activates a spell, which surrounds Snaky and starts healing him. After a while, he looks at his tail and excitedly says great, it really healed his injuries. After just a few minutes of practice, his body is full of spiritual chi and he feels light, as if he has eaten spiritual herbs. He curls up his body as he gladly adds that this must be used mainly to improve the cultivation. As for the healing, it's a convenient effect. But then he thinks his demon core is clearly shattered, so it's impossible to store spiritual chi. So he wonders if it could be that this cauldron has become his new demon core, and finds it odd. Snaky says whatever, he should leave this place first and find a place to rest for a few days before thinking about his cultivation. He can become stronger with time but shouldn't mess with the humans so early. But before leaving, he stares at the pigs with a creepy look in his eyes and thinks if he wants to cultivate, he must first eat his full first, as he eats them all up. Since the day of his first enlightenment by the human pellet, new knowledge has been popping up in Snaky's head from time to time. After devouring Chen Fan, that intensifies every day. One morning a few days later, Snaky suddenly understood that the demon beast's cultivation system was also divided into many stages like with human cultivators. The demon beasts were also named the spiritual stage, the establishment stage, the core formation stage, and the nascent soul stage. He realizes that his current stage is at the peak of the first spiritual stage. It's equivalent to the peak of the first human Kai refining stage. He dreamt of beasts who were able to split heaven and earth, which made him yearn. He also wanted to become such a beast. If he wanted to stop being hunted and live his life to the fullest, he had to cultivate. So he decides he'll cultivate as he starts chanting, saying, "Heaven and earth are the chessboard, all beings are the pieces." He understands that he has been cultivating the mysterious arts for a few days now, and he discovered that it could do more than just heal his injuries. It can also improve his physique and cleanse his meridians. Not only does it get rid of the impurities, but it also makes him shed. A few days after that, he slithers around the ground with a tremendous amount of force, thinking it's been 1 week. And he has changed. His horns became longer and his scales harder, making him look majestic. However, he frustratedly asks what's going on, how he became so tiny. He should be bigger after shedding his skin, as he finds that he went down from 33 to 6 centimeters. Right then, Snaky notices a small bird beside him that's the same size as him, so he furiously knocks it down with his tail and starts swallowing it whole, saying although he's smaller now, his speed and power have drastically increased. That also includes his flexibility. His body stretches a lot, so if he tries his best, he should be able to devour a big prey. He also says now that he can be sure that the cauldron has truly become a new demon core. He can feel the spiritual Kai in it fully accumulating. He'll be able to break through, but the energy consumption is too much, enough though he keeps on training both his body and mind. Snaky lets out a sigh and says the art allows him to absorb heaven and earth's spiritual Kai. But just absorbing it isn't enough. He understands that he can't cultivate without resources, and if he wants to break through, he still needs a huge amount of replenishments. So then, he heads out to the vegetable fields to look for some and excitedly giggles seeing a wild boar there who's trying to eat a watermelon as he starts to move toward it. He believes that although they are large beasts and a bit dangerous, he's now at the peak of the first spiritual stage, while its intelligence is not yet developed and it's weaker than him. Right then, the wild boar turns back and Snaky hurriedly hides in the grass, understanding. So, as long as he's prepared, he'll surely get a tasty meal. After that, he grabs a rock with his mouth thinking it should do it, and again starts slowly moving toward the boar. He says good, it didn't notice him at all, and keeps on moving hoping to get a little closer, just a little closer. But then, Snaky drops the rock and nervously asks the wild boar if its watermelon is good, as it turns towards Snaky and looks at him with a furious look in its eyes. After that, it lets out a loud roar and starts chasing Snaky, while Snaky tries his best to run away from it, screaming no, to stay away, and frustratedly asks why it's so scary. However, he finds that it's a dead end ahead and thinks no, he can't keep running away. He'll go all out, otherwise he's dead. So then, he turns back toward the wild boar and hurriedly starts throwing rocks at it, saying he must fight back. He must injure it first, but before he could think of anything else, the rocks hit the wild boar, severely wounding it, and that knocks it out. He gets shocked to see that, and asks if it's dead. If he's that amazing, then he says no. Wild boars are smart. He believes yes, it might be playing dead, so he has to strike it with more rocks. Doing that wounds it even more. After that, he seems relieved as he says it should be dead now. It's a close call, and he almost got killed. But then, he says wait, he has to make sure it doesn't come back. He needs to deal with it again. So Snaky chops off its limbs into pieces. He then starts chewing them as he excitedly says he can eat with confidence now. He adds that it's much firmer than the pigs and has an interesting taste. But then, he finds something doesn't feel right and says no. Then he coughs out something shiny from his mouth and worriedly asks what this is. He sees an azure-colored sphere in front of him and surprisedly says this is a demon core, so it's not an ordinary wild boar. He gets frightened realizing that it's actually a pig demon and says so scary, as demon cores contain violent energy and cannot be consumed raw. Otherwise, the body will blow up and they'll die. If they want to absorb it, they must refine it into a pill. But he looks closely at the shiny demon core and says he doesn't know how. As when beasts devour their prey, they consume the corpse and the core together, so he questions if the demon is eaten raw, and they explode, if that wouldn't cause the beasts to go extinct long ago. Also, he excitedly says wait, most of his knowledge comes from humans, and the physique of beasts and humans must be different, then he must be able to eat this. So then, he impatiently lunges at the demon core thinking it's time to eat, and takes it in his mouth. However, he finds that it's hard to swallow. Still, he tries his best and somehow manages to put it into his stomach. But then, he gets startled to find that his stomach feels hot as something inside it starts shining. He wonders if it could be that the demon god cauldron in his body is absorbing the demon core's force. Then Snaky gets worried, realizing that it's rapidly filling up the cauldron, and here it comes, that feeling. He understands that he's breaking through and screams out loud as he radiates a tremendous amount of energy. After that, he reaches psychic level 2 and says he did it. He has reached the second spiritual stage. Also, he gets surprised to find that 2 of his tail scales turn golden, and tries hitting a big rock with them, which easily breaks. Seeing that, he excitedly says, "Good, that's amazing. Great, these scales are like iron." But right at that moment, he hears someone approaching him. He annoyedly looks back, asking what's going on there. However, he sees a young boy holding a pitchfork in hand, and frightenedly thinks it's a human, a youth. Then the young boy raises his pitchfork and aims it at him. Seeing that, Snaky worriedly wonders what he's trying to do, judging by his stance, if he's preparing to attack him. Also, if this person is also a cultivator, and he doesn't want to hear that it's another Chen fan, as he imagines him telling him to have a taste of his pitchfork, calling him a puny demonic beast. Snaky thinks this is dangerous, so then he lunges at the boy and breaks the pitchfork into pieces. Then he hurriedly escapes from there, thinking humans are so scary. He needs to get out of there before his companions show up. The young boy gets surprised to see that. Then he smiles as he seems relieved and runs back to his home. He tells his dad that the old black snake devoured the demon pig that killed his mom, but he got scared of him and ran away, and his dad asks what he's talking about. A while later, Snaky stops and seems relieved as he says the boy didn't chase after him. It was just a false alarm. He finds it weird and guesses that he was just a normal boy. Then he heads forward, questioning if he's under some kind of delusion, if he has a fear of young men. He thinks he's such a coward. Snaky frustratedly thinks he's a demon that's determined to become a primordial beast, so this won't do, as he already arrived at the mountain god temple, so he should go inside and pray like the humans did. He decides yes, he should pray for some peace of mind, and since he obtained his intelligence here, this place might be his land of fortune. After he heads inside the temple, he says he heard that having inner demons is a major taboo in cultivation. To overcome one's inner demon, one must be sincere. So he tells the Grandpa Mountain God that he's there to visit him again. But then he finds that something smells nice. He looks ahead and gets surprised to find a bunch of delicious food on a table, as he starts drooling and asks where all these tribute came from. He says he doubts the mountain god would want to let this food go to waste, and if he helps him eat these foods before praying, it'll probably be more sincere as he eats all the food. After that, Snaky lets out a burp, and then he prays to the mountain god to protect him, to help him to overcome his inner demon and bless him so that he can cultivate successfully, to help him so that he can become stronger, and bless him so that he can stay alive properly. But right then, he hears a scream and looks back. He sees a woman running, calling for help, while a man calls her Missy and asks where she's trying to run. Snaky thinks what bad luck, why there are people there again. The man tells his companions to wait for him outside. He'll go and have some fun as the woman runs inside the temple, hiding behind the mountain god statue. Snaky wonders if she's an idiot, as she walked into a dead end herself. Then he looks at them through the statue using his skill, thinking he should see what they're trying to do. He finds the man approaching the woman, telling her that none of the women out there that he, young Master Q, set his sights on has ever refused. But the woman, holding a knife, tells him not to come near her, else she'll make his life worse than death, as even if she can't kill him, she can kill herself, so he won't get anything. Snaky thinks hold on, as he gets surprised to hear the name young Master Q. He questions if he isn't the person who threw Chen Fan into the pigsty to have beaten Chen Fan half to death. Snaky believes he must be an expert, so he must make sure Q doesn't notice him. But he surprisedly wonders if he's in heat as he grabs hold of the woman. Snaky thinks humans are weird. They can go into heat at any time, unlike them, who only go into heat during spring. By the way, he wonders just which part of that weak body attracted him. He finds it truly embarrassing to see, as if he throws her into the mountain, she'll get devoured immediately. Then Q takes the knife from the woman and asks how dare she be so arrogant as to threaten him, as he's going to fun before he kills her, while Snaky thinks this young Master Q sure looks muscular, but his brain is not so good. The woman frustratedly tells Q he forced her to break off her engagement and killed her lover Chen Fan. Now, he's trying to harass her, so she won't let him go even if she becomes a ghost. Snaky chews on an apple and disappointedly says if killing isn't for food, he doesn't think it's necessary. May the mountain god protect him, and make them go away immediately after they're done doing their stuff. But right then, one of the hands of the mountain god statue breaks apart and falls to the ground, which startles both young Master Q and the woman. Q worriedly thinks there's someone there, while the woman thinks it's the mountain god. So then, she hurriedly runs toward the statue, calling the mountain god and saying he manifested. And Q points the knife in his hand at it, furiously asking who's hiding behind the mountain god. The woman kneels at the foot of the statue and says, "Bless the mountain. May fortune bless the world." She begs Lord Mountain God to help her. But then, she gets stunned to see Snaky right before her face, and Snaky nervously thinks he's done for. The woman screams out loud saying demon and tries to run away from there. Hearing that, young Master Q confusedly asks, "Demon, where?" However, right as the woman turns around, she falls on the knife in Q's hand and gets stabbed. Then she falls to the ground. At that, young Master Q screams no and keeps swearing out loud. Hearing that commotion, his companions enter the temple and worriedly ask him what happened. One of them nervously asks young Master Q if he's already done so quickly. Q yells at him, calling him an idiot, and tells him that there's a demonic beast in the temple. He looks around and frustratedly asks where the demonic beast went, hiding behind the mountain god statue and ruining his fun. He shouts at him to come out. He tells him that he's an outer disciple of the snake catcher sect, so it's his misfortune to have come across him. Snaky stuttering questions if he said snake catcher sect. Then he tells his companions that that bastard isn't showing up, so to go and take a look and stay alert. Hearing that, the two guys run toward the statue saying, "Yes, young master." Q tells them that it was somewhere near the god statue, and to find it. Hearing that, the two guys start hitting the pillar and calling for the demon to come out. Seeing their outrage, Snaky worriedly thinks they are coming to kill him, rather than waiting for death. He asks why not take a risk, as he bears out his fangs at the two guys, which terrifies them, and they step back saying it's a snake demon. Q tells them it's not even 7 feet, so there's nothing to be afraid of. One guy asks why he doesn't do it himself then, and Q explains that he'll kill it with one attack after he gathers his energy. If he brings it as a gift, he should be able to officially join the snake catcher sect, so he tells his companions to go and hold it off, as the space-splitting palm needs time to gather energy. The guys say yes, young master, and rush towards Snaky. Q adds he'll reward whoever kills it, while Snaky thinks the strongest among them should be the young Master Q. And before he finishes gathering his energy, he needs to kill everyone, only then he can live. As he lunges at the two guys and whips his tail at them, but immediately their heads and hands go flying and they die. Snaky gets shocked to see that and he says, "Hold on, these guys are so weak." Young Master Q also seems shocked to see that. He horrifiedly looks at his companions' lifeless bodies fallen before the snake demon and thinks they died in the blink of an eye, so he wonders what kind of monster that is. Then he runs off telling him to just wait. The snake catcher sect won't spare him, and Snaky confusedly wonders why that human is running away instead of gathering his energy. Q adds that he's going to ask his master to make him into a pill, while Snaky thinks he knew it wouldn't be so simple. But there's no way he can let him run away. So then, he hurriedly rushes toward young Master Q and hits him in the head with a lot of force, thinking he's going to shatter his brain, and kills him. After that, Snaky drags his body back inside the temple and releases a sigh as he thanks God this person decided to run and not gather energy, and he avoided another danger. He's truly lucky. But then, he nervously questions if it could be that he encountered danger this time because he ate the mountain god's offering. So if the mountain god is angry, he restlessly says this won't do. He needs to replace the offerings for the mountain god, as he starts stacking the dead bodies on the table where the offerings were placed. Then he begs the mountain god not to blame him, as he'll give him these people as offerings, and requests him to take it, hoping with this, the mountain god won't get angry anymore. Snaky thinks maybe with this incident, Lord Mountain God is trying to tell him to hasten his cultivation. Otherwise, he'll have to keep hiding his entire life. He imagines the mountain god telling him that it's a test from heaven, and with it, he'll be able to become a great snake in the future, so Snaky says he got it, and thanks him. Then he heads out telling him to rest assured, as he'll return to the mountain and start cultivating right away. Thus Snaky decided to return to the deep mountain and cultivate. 1 week later, he checks his demon core and lets out a sigh, as he says he has already cultivated for a week. However, he still requires a lot of spiritual fog to fill the second level. Snaky disappointedly adds not only do the small beasts he eats every day fail to satisfy his hunger, but they also don't contribute much to his cultivation. If only there was another demonic boar. After that, as he heads out into the fields and sets up a trap, he wonders why there isn't any prey yet. Snaky says they say one shouldn't wait for something to fall into their lap, and questions if the same principle doesn't apply to catching pigs. But it has been days, so why he hasn't found any pigs yet? He devastatedly continues that it's getting hard to fill his stomach, let alone cultivate, so he goes up to a watermelon and wonders, pigs eat watermelon, and he eats pigs, so why he doesn't directly eat watermelon. Right then, he hears a boy walking home with his dad telling him that the river's water level this year has risen. He sure caught a lot of fish. Snaky sees them stopping at a house near there and questions if it's the boy with the pitchfork. But who's the muscular man beside him, and so if this field of watermelons is theirs. But right then, the boy turns back wondering if something was there, and looks in his direction. Snaky gets startled by that and wonders if he found him out even when they were so far apart. At that moment, the boy's dad sneezes, and immediately, the boy starts running towards Snaky with a basket of fish in hand. Seeing that, his dad frustratedly asks where he's going. Snaky worriedly wonders if he's coming in that direction, what he wants now, and hurriedly gets on a tree saying he should hide. After the boy gets close to the tree, he puts down the basket saying he should place it there, while Snaky confusedly wonders what this boy is doing. Then the boy starts running back toward his house and Snaky gets surprised to see that he ran away after putting down stuff. At that moment, the boy looks and tells him, calling him Old Black Snake, that the fish are to return his favor, so to eat them all he wants. Hearing that, Snaky gets down from the tree wondering if these are fish, if he's giving him fish to eat, as he starts drooling. He hopes it isn't a trap. He questions if he's trying to poison him, as he can't get fooled, but he looks inside and says these fish are so fresh, he'll just look at them, no eating. But immediately, he puts one inside his mouth saying he guesses it's fine to just taste one of them. He giggles and says it had no taste. So then he eats another saying, in that case, he should taste another one. He keeps on eating saying just one more, and amazedly says it's so delicious. Meanwhile, as the boy walks back home, he sees that and giggles thinking the Old Black Snake really likes to eat fish. But right then, a mysterious man standing in front of him calls him. Hearing that, the boy nervously looks at him. He thinks the man is so tall, as the man tells him to let him ask him something. He asks the boy if he saw the Old Black Snake recently, and the boy sees a token on his belt with snake written on it. He understands that it's a person from Snake Catcher sect, and wonders if he's there to catch the Old Black Snake. The man again asks if he has seen it or not, and tells him to speak. He questions if he has become a mute. Then the boy stutteringly says he has never seen any Old Black Snake before. Another person who came with the man calls him Brother Ding and tells him this brat knows nothing, so it's futile to ask him, which irritates him. Suddenly, dozens of crows start making noises at once and fly toward a highland. Ding surprisedly asks what happened. The other snake catcher pushes aside the boy and walks forward saying they should go take a look. He tells Brother Ding that maybe the Old Black Snake is there, while the young boy worriedly hopes that the Old Black Snake runs away, and prays it doesn't get found out. But then suddenly, Brother Ding turns back saying someone has been devoured. The Old Black Snake devoured someone at the river, and the other guy surprisedly asks if it's at the river. Then Ding hurriedly runs there telling him quick, they shouldn't let it run away. The other guy follows him telling him yes, and the boy thinks the Old Black Snake was eating fish there just now, so how it can devour people in the river at the same time. Meanwhile, Snaky tries to escape from there as fast as he can, frustratedly calling the crows those idiot birds, as he just accidentally broke a few eggs and asks how they can peck at him. He worriedly thinks he almost got found out by the snake catchers, but he wonders when he devoured someone at the river. Also, why that young man said he didn't see him before. Snaky finds the human world sure is complicated. It's not something he can understand easily, and thinks the most important thing right now is that the snake catchers have their eyes on him. If he wants to survive, he can't stay there any longer, so he says he should escape to the other side of the river. It should be safer if he hides for a few months. Then Snaky starts crossing the river, adding that winter is also coming in another 3 months. But he hasn't stored any food yet, so it'll be hard for him to improve his cultivation during that period. But at that moment, he notices something swimming at him at a tremendous speed and worriedly questions what that is. Immediately, an enormous monster lunges at him, which terrifies Snaky, and he hurriedly moves out of the way. He barely manages to evade the attack and questions why there's a demonic beast in that river. Then Snaky dives inside the water wondering if it's an eel, as it looks just like a snake, so it must have come from the upper stream, and if it's the one who devoured a human and is now making him take the fall. He finds it looks quite injured though, so he thinks it must have already fought with the snake catchers, but he wonders why it's attacking him who's just passing by. Then Snaky thinks hold on, as he doesn't want to believe that it was on the run when it found him, and now it's trying to eat him to replenish itself. So he giggles, wondering, then, likewise, if it isn't right that he can also treat it as food for him to hibernate. However, Snaky says that in any case, since it manages to escape from those snake catchers, it must be quite strong, as he tries to escape, adding that hunting is too dangerous, and his life is more important. The demonic eel gets a bit surprised by that. Then it starts chasing Snaky at an insane speed. At that, Snaky frightenedly says it's bad. It has made up its mind to catch him. He barely manages to move out of the way and keeps on swimming away from it, saying it's so persistent. As the demonic beast hits a wall, then Snaky thinks this won't do. He's almost out of breath. He understands that if he uses his full strength on its weaker part, the stomach, he should be able to escape. But then he thinks, hold on. He remembers Chen Fan's cultivation technique once mentioned. When facing an illusion, one must focus their mind first and concentrate all energy into a single point of consciousness. Heaven and earth is the grand chessboard, divine sense gathered. Snaky does all of that and thinks, destroy the illusion, as he lets out a roar at the demonic beast, which sends out the demon dragon spirit in the cauldron inside him and destroys the illusion. He excitedly thinks, woohoo, he destroyed the illusion, but then, he gets surprised to find the demonic eel still coming at him with a massive amount of force. Snaky shouts shit, he can't avoid it, and hurriedly covers his face with his tail, but right at that moment, the golden scales on his tail impale the demonic beast's head. Immediately, it cuts clean right through his body. Snaky gets astonished by that and asks what just happened. He looks at the golden scales and questions if his tail splitted the demonic eel into half. If his tail is that amazing, his golden scale is so sharp. So Snaky nervously asks if he cultivates until it covers his entire body, if he won't be invincible. Then he says no, he can't be careless, there was still an element of luck in this battle. And since it was heavily injured, it must have mistakenly slammed straight into his golden scale, so he should just quickly hide inside the mountain and be careful as he heads to the mountain with some of its meat. Seki says this demonic beast meat should be enough for him to cultivate inside the mountain for a few months. In addition to the demon core, it should be enough for him to break through into the third level of spiritual awareness realm. But then he asks what this is as he finds a token with snake written on it, and nervously questions if it's from the snake catcher sect, if it devoured a snake catcher. So Snaky bows before Brother Demon, telling him although he helped him deal with danger, he still tried to hunt him. All he can do is follow the law of nature, but he tells him to rest assured, as he will enjoy him properly. Including its demon core, it'll always be by his side, as he tries to devour it but gets frustrated as he finds that he can't swallow it. Then Snaky moves away from there, saying, whatever, the snake catcher will arrive there soon, so he should run away first. He can just cultivate the demon core inside the mountain. After a while, the snake catchers reach there, and looking at the demonic meat, Ding says he sees. This should explain it. He was wondering why that guy was able to escape so quickly inside the river. He explains that the one who devoured people was a water demon, and the one who fought the water demon there is the old black snake. The other guy frustratedly asks if then they should continue to pursue it. Ding explains that in front is the Iron Bear Mountain. There's a massive bear demon with a cultivation base at the third level of the spiritual awareness over there. Its strength shouldn't be underestimated. He adds that the mountain is wide and full of forest. They might not be able to find the snake for months, and they might also encounter the bear demon. The other guy asks where he heard about it. Ding tells him that a few days ago, the old black snake devoured a pill master as well as the human-shaped pill he nurtured for years at that place. The other guy asks what he means. He impatiently tells him that that human-shaped pill's medicine effect must still be in the snake's body, but he's stuck in the third level of the true refinement realm for years to encounter such a fortuitous opportunity. He asks why they don't secretly. Ding tells him he's quite sharp, but it's just the two of them right now, and it's too dangerous to go into the mountains, so he's just afraid that they tried to go for wool and come back shorn. But the other guy tells him he doesn't have to worry. A few months later the mountains will be covered in snow. By that time, both the snake demon and the bear demon will go into hibernation. They'll go into the mountains by then they'll surely be able to gain what they want. Ding says that makes sense. Then by the time of the first snow will be the day that the old black snake becomes an offering to his cultivate, as Snaky takes shelter inside a cave and giggles, saying it's not bad. He should hide there for a month. 2 months later, as it starts to snow, Snaky says he didn't think the breakthrough from the second to the third spiritual stage would be so much harder to achieve than the previous breakthrough. He has refined the demon core in the body from the last harvest, and he's also cultivating, but still he hasn't made a breakthrough. Fortunately, he finds that 3 more golden scales appeared on his tail. Snaky understands that the spiritual mist within the cauldron is already full, so he must be at the peak of the 2nd stage. He just needs the last push to break through to the 3rd stage. Sadly, winter has come and his body has grown stiffer. There's almost no meat left. He can only hibernate and wait until the next spring to go out of the mountains to find food and cultivate more. Meanwhile, the snake catchers go around and tell the villagers there that anyone who goes up the mountains to help them with the search will be given 1 silver each. Ding requests them to be careful with their search and pay attention, to which one villager tells him not to worry as they of the snake village are good at finding snakes. His 2 hunting dogs are specially trained for this. The other guy tells him enough to stop talking and find it quickly as he and Ding head another way. The villager tells him yes and orders his dogs Da Huang and Huang to find the snake's lair. Another villager frustratedly says the snake-catching sex people are so rude, but the previous villager tells Brother Lai not to speak nonsense, as they have real skills. Unlike them, they came there to benefit from their favor. He excitedly adds he doesn't know how much his little Niu loves reading. He treats that worn-out book that no one wants as a treasure, so when he gets the money, he'll send him to study with Mr. Chu. He tells Brother Lai that he'll make sure the kid is happy, and laughs, but then the 2 dogs start barking loudly, and the villager surprisedly questions if they found it already. He brings the snake catchers to a place covered by sticks and tells them to look at it, as this must be the old snake's lair. Ding pushes him aside, telling him to get out of the way and let him see. Meanwhile, Snaky frustratedly wonders if the snake catcher brought people with him up the mountains, as the dogs' noses are sharp. They found him. He's so cold and numb right now, he's at his weakest. He can't even run away, let alone fight, as the villager tells the snake catcher to look as there's some old black snake feces there, and reminds him of their reward. But Ding gestures him to keep quiet. Then he furiously calls him an idiot and tells him that these are bear feces, so if his dog can even find it. The villager hurriedly says that shouldn't be. His dogs never make mistakes when it comes to finding snakes. Ding asks if he's saying he's lying. He points at a hole in the mountain, telling them to look, as there's a big hole over there, and orders all the villagers to look inside and find it. The villager nervously tells him yes. Hearing that, Snaky thinks he was scared to death. Fortunately, he was smart and careful to not only block the hole with stones, but he also covered it with branches, and there was bear feces on them. Also, if he dug a deep hole, they wouldn't be able to notice, but even though he might be too cautious, he should gather his energy quickly to recover just in case, as the villagers annoyedly head toward the big hole. Meanwhile, the other snake catcher asks Brother Ding, although it's hidden deep, if it isn't clearly a snake hole. Ding says of course, and now these fools are useless, so the more of them they get rid of, the less coins they'll have to give. The other guy asks if that's why he asked them to go in the bear cave. Ding says of course, now he understands, and asks if he knows what's next, while the villagers say such a big hole, but the snake is said to be tiny. Then the other guy heads down, telling Ding not to worry. He'll lure out the bear to get rid of them, and they can deal with the bear later. Snaky surprisedly wonders if they want to kill their own companions, as even animals don't do such things, so he gets infuriated realizing that humans, they are heartless, they are horrible. But then, he thinks no, that isn't related to him. The point is, they know he's there, he's in danger, and they just said they want to use the bear beast first. So if he takes advantage of that and eats the bear, he can break through to the 3rd spiritual stage in one sweep. Then, he will fight the snake catchers. However, Snaky bangs his head on the ground, asking what crazy things he's thinking. They said they need to work together to kill the bear beast, so it must be much stronger than him. But then Ding looks at his junior and laughs as he says sadly, the 2 beasts are only enough for one of them to break through. Otherwise, he would have spared him after they killed the bear beast. Hearing that, Snaky thinks wait, it looks like they are going to fight each other, so he wonders if there's hope. He'll slowly move to the cave entrance and wait to see what happens and act when it's time. At that moment, the junior snake catcher comes back up and tells Brother Ding it's done. Within half an incense stick of time, the bear will be up, as right then, the bear beast lets out a loud roar. After that, it rushes out at the villagers, and they hurriedly try to run away, saying, quickly, run, it's a bear cave. But if the snake catchers didn't say it's the snakes, so to go find the master. Seeing the 2 snake catchers above, they impatiently tell them they came just in time, and request them to save them. However, Brother Ding disgustfully calls them trash and asks they caused such a disaster, but if they still dare to ask for help, as they will die there. Hearing that, the villagers frustratedly say it's on purpose. They're deliberately lured into the bear cave, just to kill them and save money. Ding infuriatedly asks what, and calls them bastards. Right then, the junior snake catcher steps back for a bit as a villager shoots an arrow at him telling them they want them to die, so they will fight, and hits the snake catcher's pouch. Snakey excitedly thinks good shot, as several items fall out of the bag onto the ground. Then he wonders, this smell, if it's the medicine of humans. He grabs an item thinking it looks like it might help, and starts drooling as he realizes that it's a magical pill, and just smelling it makes him feel rejuvenated. Then the junior tells Brother Ding that his bag has fallen apart and to help him pick it up as the bear beast is coming. Ding helps him, asking how he could be so careless, while Snakey thinks whatever he gets is his. As the bear starts feasting on the villagers, the junior snake catcher tells Brother Ding what a good plan. They are dead. Ding laughs and says he didn't expect the old bones to last long. They sacrificed their lives for the snake catching sect, so it can be considered an honor. However, at that moment, the junior snake catcher tells Brother Ding that he should go down and join them, to hurry and follow the flow of the wind, which startled Ding. But before he could do anything, his junior pushes him off the highland using a wind skill telling him to go, and Brother Ding falls down right in front of the ferocious bear beast, screaming out as loud as he can. Then looking at the bear, he frustratedly tells Jan Wenju that he's plotting against him, but Wenju mockingly tells him no need to be angry, as he must die an honorable death. He adds that he doesn't know how long he has been preparing this for him, as if he didn't want the beast for himself. If he thinks he's dumb, so now it's all his. Wenju continues telling Ding with a creepy look in his eyes that he doesn't want any snake or bear beasts, only his death. Then as the bear lunges at Ding, Wenju laughs and tells him that the breakthrough material is right in front of him, so to take it if he dares, to which Ding frustratedly calls him a bastard. But Wenju tells him to hurry and detonate the talisman. Then Ding does it, which causes a huge explosion and kills him. Seeing that, Wenju laughs and tells him he's worthy of being his senior brother. He's so crazy even right before death. Then it's time for him to return to the sect and report. This bear beast is now enraged, so he doesn't want to get involved, and leaves. Seeing all that, Snakey surprisedly wonders if the snake catcher died, if the bear beast is gravely wounded. What he can say, if this is the legendary plot twist. Then he puts the medicine he took from the snake catcher in his mouth, and thinks now it's time for him to come out, as he feels reinvigorated. But then, Snakey gets surprised to find 2 more Kai replenishing pills at the entrance, and questions if he eats all 3 at once, if he will be able to absorb them properly. Also, if he hides one behind his teeth and waits for the right moment to swallow it, as he does that and plans to proceed forward. But at that, Snakey finds a pack of wolves in front of him and wonders if they're drawn there by the smell of blood. He says perfect, as he got hungry after eating the pill, and he'd rather not feast on human corpses. So he immediately lunges onto a wolf and ends it in a swift, asking why he doesn't fill his stomach with them instead, which startles the others. Then the wolves furiously turn toward him and growl, while Snakey thinks that ever since he got the divine demonic cauldron, he can digest food almost instantly, so he needs more. After that, the wolves come rushing at him all at once and try to attack him, but Snakey screeches at them and knocks them out after another without any hassle, thinking a single wolf isn't nearly enough. A while later, as he feasts on the wolves he killed, he confusedly wonders what's going on, so hungry, why he's still so hungry, while the rest of the wolves run away from him. Snakey then wonders if it could be because of the great demon bear, if eating just wolves isn't enough to satisfy him, as the wolves go up to Bear and stand there trembling in fear. After that, the demon bear starts crushing the wolves with its paw and starts munching on them, which surprises Snakey. He thinks he didn't expect the demon bear to still be so powerful despite its injuries, as from what he saw, it's at least at the peak of the 3rd level, while he's only at the peak of the 2nd level. Then Snakey thinks no, he shouldn't lose himself to hunger and risk everything just for a meal. But he's still so hungry, so if it's the divine demonic cauldron's desire, if it wants him to eat the demon bear. He understands, sure, this bear's cultivation may be higher than him, but it's badly injured, and he won't get stronger if he keeps running away. He guesses it must have used all its strength when it blew those wolves away, but as long as he's smart and cautious, he still can win, as the bear roars at him and Snakey keeps telling himself not to panic. Right then, he lunges at the bear beast with a killing intent, thinking to become stronger, and tries to attack it. But the bear grabs hold of him and roars at him. After that, Snakey furiously bites the bear's eye and tries to gouge them out. Because of that, the bear beast tosses him away. The bear cries out loud and Snakey finds it hurts. This demon bear is 10 times stronger than the demon eel was, but since he has managed to blind it, things should be easier now. So he says with a determined look on his face, just one more push. But he thinks the pill's effect has worn off, and his body is getting stiff again. So Snaky thinks he should be able to recover after digesting another pill, and does that. As for the minor injuries, he immediately lunges at the demon bear and bites him in the throat, saying it won't be too late to heal them after he kills the bear. But then, the demon bear screams in pain and hits his back against the ground to force Snaky off of him, and Snaky worriedly thinks no way, it's already blind, but it still is so strong. Then the bear tries slashing all over his body and Snaky finds it severely hurting. He distressedly thinks his attacks are so heavy, his bones must be broken. Then he thinks no, he can't let go of its throat, not until he snaps its neck, as he seems determined. At that moment, the demon bear grabs him and lets out a loud roar as he tries his best to pull him away from his neck. But Snaky persistently thinks he can't let go and hopes he just dies. However, the demon bear somehow manages to separate him and tosses him away, which hurts him. Then the bear falls to the ground and keeps growling in pain. Snaky understands that he tore its throat open, and it won't live much longer. Now, he just needs to finish it off from a distance. But he doubts throwing stones will help. So he says he should use this instead, as he uproots a tree from the ground using his tail, and throws it on its head, which badly wounds it and finally knocks it out cold. Seeing that, Snaky hisses and gets close to it, as he says it should be dead by now, but just in case it's pretending, he'll channel his energy to heal himself while he watches. But then, he gets surprised to hear something and asks what that sound is. He looks back and finds that the remaining wolves have surrounded him. Snaky frustratedly says damn it, those sneaky wolves. He tells them to get lost, and not to think they can steal from him. They're not taking his spoils. Being badly hurt as well, he thinks he has no choice. He'll eat the last Kai replenishing pill and kill them all. 2 hours later, Snaky seems really exhausted as he drags a piece of cloth toward the demon bear's corpse, laboredly saying it should be safe now. But the Kai replenishing pill's effect won't last long, and he's still injured, so he needs to find a safe place to hide and recover before cultivating, as if the snake catchers come again. After that, as he ties up some of the bear's meat and starts dragging it away, he looks around and says, all these corpses. He sighs and asks how many times it takes to reincarnate as a human to die just like this. But then, he gets surprised to notice something. He asks what this is, as it looks like that young boy's father. Snaky finds his 2 dogs lying with him on the ground as well, so he calls them and tells them that he's already dead. He asks why they aren't running away, and adds that they're going to freeze to death. But then, he checks on them and finds that their body has already gone stiff, so he understands that they've already frozen to death. Seeing that, Snaky thinks to stay beside his master even when he's dead. For some reason, his heart feels conflicted. Then he keeps on moving as he understands that in this world, only the most cunning and deceitful survive. And he has to survive too, no matter what happens next. Sometime later, inside a certain cave, Snaky says there's a puddle outside the cavern, making it hard to notice, so this place should be safe. While he can still move, he should start cultivating with the demon bear as he starts eating its meat, and says, so delicious, the bear is incredible, no wonder the divine demonic cauldron was so restless. Snaky thinks it's time to absorb, as the cauldron inside his stomach quickly keeps absorbing the bear meat, and he finds that that familiar feeling is there again. After that, Snaky evolves again and sheds tears of joy, saying he did it, the 3rd level of spiritual awakening realm. He finally broke through the 3rd level. Not only that, he excitedly adds that he has reached the peak of the 3rd level, and his tail has grown 10 golden scales. As expected, the greater the risk, the greater the rewards, so the fight was worth it. Also, his imagination runs wild as he playfully says maybe, by the next spring, he can also occupy a mountain and become the king. 3 months later, winter left and spring came. Snaky wakes up from rest and yawns, asking if it's spring already. He grew to 8 centimeters and reached 11 golden scales. He finds that after these 3 months, not only has his body grown, but his perception as well, as there are 2 wild boars nearby, so he's going to go get himself a meal and stretch his muscles. After that, Snaky heads out of the cave and hurts down one of the boars, but then, he looks at the other and stops. He questions if it isn't a female and realizes that it's pregnant, so he can't eat it. He'll just eat the male as he understands that he has also obtained more new knowledge. It's about ecological balance. Now that he can no longer go to the village, he has to be self-sufficient and rely on the mountain. He can't simply occupy it and be the king. If he wants his prey to continue reproducing, he can't kill the young ones. As Snaky eats the wild boar, he says there are 20 roe deer, 30 musk deer, and several hundreds of rabbits. If he doesn't overeat and goes according to the plan, he has no issues with filling his belly and living well. But he can't rely on these resources for his cultivation. Judging from what happened last time, he needs more opportunities and adventurers to grow stronger. So he understands that it's time to go back home, as heads back to the Thousand Snake Valley, where he was born. Looking around, he says spring is here, everything has been reborn, it's mating season again. And he's a determined snake. But he, Snaky, annoyedly thinks every time he returned before, this little white snake would come at him, as she wraps herself around him, which makes him uncomfortable. So then, he pushes her aside, telling her that unfortunately, they're from different worlds, so they should say goodbye here. After that, he moves forward, thinking that if he was the same as he was a year ago, he would have been like them and mate with no shame. But after he started his journey, he's no longer interested in such mere desires, he's here for training. After a while, Snaky reaches a tree and says, yes, the snake fruit tree, it matures every 3 years, and this spring is the season for it to mature again. If he takes it after it matures, he can improve his cultivation. He recalls that 3 years ago, he gained wisdom after accidentally devouring a snake fruit, so if he devours 3 this time, maybe he could break through to the 4th spiritual stage in one go. Snaky remembers once he read during that middle stage that he can use some spells and no longer rely on just physical attacks. But at that moment, he senses a person calling another sister Song and telling her that this is the Thousand Snake Valley that ding, and he discovered the snake fruit tree must be inside. Snaky frustratedly thinks, damn it, someone's coming. However, he finds that this voice sounds familiar though. Ju grievously tells Song it's a shame that Brother Ding saved him but did not make it. Song says they shouldn't speak of the past. He did a good job and made up for it. Hearing that, Snaky asks if it's the snake catcher again. Ju tells Song then the snake fruits should belong to her. Song tells him no, she doesn't take advantage of him, and she only needs 2, to which Ju thanks her for that. But he worriedly tells her that there are beasts guarding the place. So to be careful, Song applies Realger on him and tells him not to worry, as she borrowed a strong magic weapon from her master for this. She explains that the only snake beast in the area is that old Snake King. If it dares to come out, they'll use its gallbladder as medicine. Snaky gets surprised as they're there for the snake fruit, and they even have a magic weapon to deal with him. But he furiously says no, the fruit is almost ready, if it runs away now, they'll have the advantage and snatch them. He thinks that he has reached the pinnacle of the 3rd stage. Besides, the snake catcher may not be as strong as he expected, as he asks if the eel and bear beast managed to deal with a snake catcher. But then Snaky says wait, as something gets inside his nose and he frustratedly asks what that smell is. So he gets into the water saying he must hide and observe, maybe they'll fight among themselves again. After all, humans seem to have internal conflicts often. After that, the 2 snake catchers enter the valley, and Ju asks Song what if the old Snake King doesn't show up. Song says if he doesn't, they'll just take the snake fruit, but she thinks it will. After all, it has lived for more than 10 years and is about to die. It depends on the fruit to prolong its life now. Snaky thinks she's the one who's about to end, and her whole family is about to end. His physical strength keeps increasing, so she's talking nonsense, but he wonders why the villagers always called him Old Black Snake. Now's not the time to think about that, as they're going to pick the snake fruit. Right then, Song stops and tells Ju not to go there yet. As it's coming out, Ju worriedly asks where it is, to which Snaky worriedly thinks no way, if she actually detected him. At that moment, the wall behind them starts to break, and Song hurriedly warns Ju saying behind him, and to evade as they jump away from there. Song smiles and says he's finally here, calling it Old Black Snake, as an enormously large black snake rushes out through the wall and tries to attack the snake catchers. Snaky gets shocked to see that and wonders if it's the real old Snake King, so if he's the fake, if it could be that it has been causing trouble outside, earning that bad reputation. As when he was growing up, he still didn't go out so much. That's why he questions if it just so happened that he went out 3 years ago, and he took the blame. Then the old snake gets up and lets out a roar as it again tries to attack Song, but Song seems unfazed as she uses her skill swamp spell. It creates a muddy swamp mid-air which blocks the old black snake's movement and creates a powerful shockwave. Snaky finds it hurting and hurriedly tries to move away saying they're fighting. He understands that the snake catcher is strong. Also he's amazed that the old Snake King is old, but he can still fight. After that, Song jumps up as she brings out her spiritual bell, and Snaky gets surprised to see that she took out her magic weapon again. Then Song activates her skill, Surrounding Sound, which pins down the old black snake with a massive force, and Snakey worriedly wonders what this is, as the sound is going to split him open. Immediately after that, Song throws an attack at the Snake King using her skill, Streaming Edge Dart, but the attack bounces right off of the Snake King's body and it seems unscathed. Seeing that, Song says, such tough scales, if these scales were peeled off, they could make precious armor. Ju tells her that she's so strong, but the snake can't be defeated by one person, so to let him help. Then Song tells him to use his Wind Blade talisman and go. Ju tells her yes, they will kill it, as he does that, and excitedly tells his senior sister that it's dying, it worked. Snakey nervously wonders if it's a mankind magic weapon, as that woman is so much more powerful than the last snake catcher, and the old Snake King is in trouble, so if he should go help, or if he should just eat the snake fruit and run away. But he realizes that the snake fruit isn't ripe yet, so eating it might not work, so he'll fight. After all, they're both snake beasts, he must secretly help. However, at that moment, he notices that there's some movement at the snake fruit tree, and furiously asks who it is. Then he finds a man trying to uproot the tree, excitedly saying, while two are fighting, the third one takes the benefits. Thanks to the snake catchers who led the old Snake King away, the snake fruit tree is his. Seeing that, Snakey shouts, no, no, and hurriedly lunges at the man, furiously calling him a bastard and asking if he wants to dig up the tree and ruin the roots, so to die. The man gets startled by that and grabs the tree tightly, causing it to separate from the root, as he screams out loud and frightenedly asks what this is. Snakey puts the man in his mouth along with the tree, furiously saying that he's actually stealing, and asks if he doesn't want to dig up the tree and ruin the roots, so he tells him to die, calling him a beast. But then, he frustratedly thinks he devoured the tree too, and it hurts. The leaves are all digested, but it feels so bad, his belly is so bloated, it's about to explode. So then, Snakey shouts he's spitting it out, as he throws out the tree from his mouth along with some human bones, and calls the heaven and earth are the chessboard, all beings are the pieces, demon gold cauldron. He checks inside and gets surprised to find that the demon god cauldron is sealed off. He has reached the third spiritual stage. He thinks that was close, it wasn't poisonous, but the energy was too much. He adds that he ate too many leaves and questions if the violent disturbance could be from those, as the herb collector melted in his mouth right away. But the demon cauldron used up 3 breaths of energy to refine the leaves. Then he says no time to think about that, he has to go, and he must not let the snake fruits fall into the wrong hands, as he starts swimming away from there carrying the tree in his mouth. After a while, sitting on the old Snake King's corpse, Ju releases a sigh and says so easy, senior sister Song is so strong, it only took less than an incense stick of time to death it. Song arrogantly tells him, of course, but he didn't do badly either, and they should go, they need to pick the snake fruit. But then, as they both head toward the place where the snake fruit tree was, they get shocked to see nothing there and ask where the tree is. Song frustratedly asks who did this. However, Ju tells her that if she wants him to steal to snake fruit tree, just to tell him, he annoyedly asks why she did it behind his back. Hearing that, Song irritatedly asks Ju what he means, and Ju tells her what he said. Then Song asks if he's actually guilty in trying to turn the tables on her. Ju tells her to just tell her accomplice who stole the tree to come out, as he promises not to tell Master, to which Song says nonsense, she doesn't have an accomplice, if it wasn't him then there must be another expert there. Hearing that, Ju asks if she's saying another expert, if she thinks he's 3 years old, while Snakey thinks great. They both think it's someone sent by the other person, and hopes they fight. Then Ju furiously tells Song she refuses to admit it, so they should let Master make the decision, as he takes out a snake-catching sect teleportation jade token, and says they should see who's afraid of who. Right then, someone grabs his hand to stop him and tells him that's enough. Ju looks at him and gets surprised to see that it's a senior brother. The senior tells him that Master knows where they are and sent him to protect him in secret, but he just got there and saw them fighting. He finds it ridiculous. Then Ju nervously asks the senior brother if it could be that he took the snake fruit. The senior tells him that it wasn't he who dug it, it's someone else. And that person was very cunning, sending Immortal to dig the tree. Otherwise, with the help of the spiritual Kai movement, he can sense and track. But now he only has to rely on the footprints, as the senior snake catcher puts his hands on the ground to check. But then, he gets surprised to find that the footprint vanished in thin air. Hearing that, Ju asks so what they should do, and the senior tells him not to worry as long as that person is still alive. He will detect them. as he plants his body on the ground and spreads his senses as far as he can using a skill. At that, Ju says, of course, with Senior Brother's 6th Kai refining stage, he'll definitely catch the thief. Snaky gets shocked to hear 6th stage and wonders how he can afford to offend someone like that. He thinks the hole should be deep enough as long as he shuts off his consciousness for a bit. Even if they have achieved the pinnacle of Kai refining stage, they may not be able to find him. But at that moment, he notices a scent coming from the snake fruit tree and wonders what that is. He looks at the tree and gets worried seeing a fruit at its fullest form. He wonders if that snake fruit is ripe now. The senior snake catcher also notices the scent and hurriedly says it's the scent of the ripe snake fruit, and it's underground, which startles the other two. Without wasting much time, the senior starts gliding on the ground to move towards Snaky fast using his earthen motion technique, and Snaky worriedly thinks he's coming down. He understands that all middle stage cultivators know magic, and wonders if it's the earthen motion technique from the 5 elements magic, so he starts shoving the fruits in his mouth thinking he must devour them and then escape. Snaky calls the heaven and earth all the chessboard, all beings are the pieces, demon god cauldron, and tells it to refine them for him to refine it faster. Right then, the snake catcher reaches the place where he dug the hole and tells him he's pretty good at escaping. His earthen motion technique is not inferior to his. He doesn't know how high his cultivation is. But he says whatever, it doesn't matter as long as he's not a foundation establishment stage cultivator. He can use the magic weapon left by the master. As he spits on his hand and then dives into the ground furiously saying he will kill them without a problem, and asks how dare they steal his snake-catching sex things. Snaky hears the guy yelling at him that he'll die that day and worriedly questions if he's swimming in the dirt and hurriedly tells the cauldron to stop slacking off, to refine it now, otherwise they'll both be doomed. Checking inside his stomach, he gets surprised to find that the furnace's mouth is wide open, so he wonders if the demon god cauldron is understanding him. Snaky finds that the golden energy is quickly spreading through his body. His fangs are growing, his muscles are swelling, and his gold scales are increasing. So he realizes that this brand new him is about to break out of the skin, as he calls for his 4th spiritual stage to come, and he evolves. Right at that moment, the senior snake catcher reaches that place and gets startled to see him. He asks if the one he was chasing for so long is not a cultivator, but a snake. He thinks no, this snake just broke through the middle spiritual stage, but he seems confused to see starting to escape with the tree in its mouth, as he wonders if even the beasts in the establishment stage have such intelligence. So the snake catcher starts rushing towards Snaky thinking this one shouldn't be killed but captured alive. He must bring it back to the sect for research, as that'll definitely be a great achievement. Meanwhile, Snaky thinks the golden scales on his tail increased again. He feels bigger, faster, and stronger too, so he'll definitely escape this time. But then, he looks back and gets surprised to find the snake catcher coming at him with something scary in hand. He frightenedly thinks he not only knows magic, but also has a magic weapon. After that, the senior snake catcher tells his weapon to go, as he sends it at Snaky calling it a top-grade spiritual treasure. It stretches out like a rope and heads towards Snaky fast. Seeing that, Snaky worriedly thinks what strong pressure. This magic weapon is like a rope. He understands that if he gets caught, he's dead, so he tries to toss it away with his tail, frustratedly telling it to scram. However, the weapon circles around the tail, which shocks Snaky. Then the weapon comes at him again and Snaky worriedly wonders if his golden scales can't break it, if he can't even push them away. Seeing Snaky struggle, the snake catcher excitedly thinks it's a top-grade spiritual treasure, and not to mention it's a middle spiritual stage beast. Even if it's at the last stage, it'd have to surrender to him, as magical weapons are all controlled by consciousness, and with that being the case, he'll just wipe out his. But at that moment, Snaky brings out the demon dragon within him to block the magical weapon. Seeing that, the snake catcher surprisedly wonders if it's resisting his attack, and if he can't push it back. However, he seems fired up and thinks so naive. This beast entrapment rope has been refined by his consciousness, so it's unbreakable. Unless a cultivator of the foundation stage takes action, he'll be wiped out. But then, the snake catcher gets confused to see him sucking up the weapon in his mouth, while Snaky thinks since he can't wipe out his consciousness, he'll forcibly imprison him through his physical form. He finds it extremely hurting but thinks, fortunately, he has thick skin so he can do this, as if he can't retrieve it, he'll eventually give up. After all, controlling this thing consumes a lot of energy. Then Snaky turns around thinking he should run away now, but the snake catcher lunges at him furiously asking how dare he eat his magic weapon. He tells him not to run away and to give his rope back. Snaky seems annoyed by that. Then half an hour later, the snake catcher tries to catch him as fast as he can, using his skill earthen motion technique, frustratedly thinking, "Damn that beast. This wicked beast is cunning. It's been making him wander around the cave for so long already. Plus, this terrain is too narrow for him." The snake catcher understands that his energy is being consumed fast, so he needs to fight it quickly and proficiently, as he keeps running after Snaky, furiously calling him a wicked creature, telling him not to run away, and to give him back his magical weapon. While Snaky thinks the treasure at his stomach has dimmed down, so it looks like he doesn't have much energy to spare. But he understands that he can't just run away. He has to find a way to kill him to prevent future problems. As he imagines doing that, Snaky thinks that the best way for a beast to deal with a human cultivator is to fight them in close combat, as although he chased him, he always attacked him from 10 meters away. So he realizes that this distance is relatively safe in his eyes. Then he can slow down, paralyze him, and catch him off guard. Seeing that, the snake catcher excitedly thinks this beast is slowing down, so it must be out of energy. Since he has swallowed his rope, he'll cut his stomach open. He will get his magical weapon back and capture him alive, as he orders the wind to obey his command, and uses his skill Heavenly Wind Blade to attack him. However, Snaky thinks there's his chance, as he rolls up like a wheel and moves toward the snake catcher fast, deflecting all his attacks. Seeing that, the snake catcher moves out of the way, asking what? The Heavenly Wind Blade can kill all middle stage beasts, but if it didn't hurt that beast at all, so what kind of scales these are, if they're that strong? So then, the snake catcher hurriedly brings out his snake-cutting sword and grabs it, calling Snaky a bastard, and asks if he thinks he's afraid of him. He starts charging his energy, furiously telling Snaky that he wanted to capture him alive, but since he wants to die, so to not blame him, this sword has killed many snakes. After it emerges, it can't be unsheathed. The snake catcher thrusts the sword at Snaky, using the spirits of several strong snake beasts stored inside, and tells him that he should be proud to die under this sword that day. However, Snaky easily intercepts the attack, and the snake catcher worriedly asks how this could be. Why the beast isn't cut into pieces? He wonders how that's possible. While Snaky thinks his sword, it's not qualified to cut off his scales, as he breaks it into pieces with a single swing of his tail, and throws back the snake catcher far. The snake catcher hits his back against the wall hard and seems shocked to see that his sword actually broke. He understands that he has used all his energy to resist this attack, and he's still gravely injured. So looking at Snaky, he thinks it's impossible. This is not an ordinary snake beast. Then he wonders if it could be a dragon youngling. The snake catcher worriedly thinks no, he must run, he must get to the ground fast, but he wonders if his remaining true energy can support the earthen motion technique. Then he looks up and notices that there's a hole on top of him, so he prays to heaven to help him, as he tries to use his wind spell and charge upward through the hole, thinking he must report this to the master immediately. However, the snake catcher finds it difficult to move, as he's trapped by something sticky and confusedly wonders if it's snakeskin. He recalls that it's from when the snake beast advanced, the skin that the wicked beast shed, so he worriedly wonders if that beast planned this all along. As Snaky comes at him quickly before he could do anything, and bites off one of his arms, causing him to scream out loud. Hearing that, Song worriedly asks if that wasn't Senior Brother's scream. Ju asks how that's possible, as what stage the Senior Brother is at after all. But right then, the Senior Snake Catcher activates a detonation talisman, which causes a huge explosion and startles Snaky. After that, the Snake Catcher jumps out of the hole, which surprises the other snake catchers, but the senior hurriedly starts running, telling them to run away as well, as there's a dragon youngling underneath. Song seems terrified and says any dragon that appears is at least a nascent soul. If it's true, how they can survive. Ju tells her that seeing Senior Brother's miserable state, it's useless to ask, it's better to run. He grabs Song's arm and tells her that they should go in the opposite direction of Senior Brother, but Song doesn't move, so Ju frustratedly says there's no other way, it can only be handled like this. Snaky thinks he was careless. He didn't expect the snake catcher would actually use a detonation talisman even if he'd leave with one arm missing, so if he lets him escape, it'll definitely bring him endless trouble. While the senior snake catcher keeps running, telling the others to get out of the valley ahead. The snake beast is still 100 feet away, so it shouldn't catch up. They need to return to the master's side fast. However, someone says he's dead, as, at that moment, a deadly venom comes out of the fangs of the old Snake King's corpse and falls on the senior snake catcher, causing him to scream in agony. He rolls around on the ground due to the unbearable pain, thinking, damn it, even if the snake's head is cut off, it can still use venom. He wonders how he could make such a stupid mistake. Then the snake catcher hurriedly searches for his detoxification pill and takes it, but he looks back for a moment and gets worried to find that the snake beast is catching up on him. He understands that at this point, he can only use his life-saving trump card, as he takes out a top-grade spiritual jade and says this thing was intended for cultivation. Then the senior snake catcher absorbs the energy of the spiritual jade into his body and starts running away from Snakey at a tremendous speed. Seeing that, Snakey thinks, damn it, he's so fast. But then he thinks, no, he must die. And there's only one way now, he has to pull out his golden scale. Immediately, Snakey pulls one out with his mouth and shoots it at the snake catcher with a lot of strength, furiously asking if he wants to run. The golden scale moves toward the snake catcher at lightning speed and pierces right through his chest, as Snakey decides that he's going to die that day. The senior snake catcher seems badly hurt by that and turns back laboredly, saying no, but then he finds even more scales coming at him which wound his whole body, and he dies. Then Snakey goes up to his corpse saying that hurts so much. He should be dead now, but no, he wonders what if he fakes his death. So he says he should smash his corpse first, that way he can't come back to life. As he does that and grievously thinks, oh, such a shame for his scales, he wonders if they'll grow back. Then Snakey thinks he should just devour him with the scales, as he puts the snake catcher's corpse into his mouth, believing that if he eats first, hopefully it can help him recover. After that, he gets surprised to see his storage bag and says there must be a lot of treasures inside, so he'll keep it for now. He must also erase his consciousness mark and brand it as his own, as he uses a skill on it to do that. At that moment, he hears a voice calling him child and telling him to live well. Snakey seems confused by that and wonders what that voice is. He looks at the old Snake King and finds him telling him with the last bit of his energy to live on. And then, Snakey finds that his foggy memories are gradually clearing up. He remembers that 3 years ago, the snake fruits were ripe, there were 2 large ones ready. At that time, he wasn't that intelligent and went to devour, but there were too many snakes swarming around. The scent of the snake fruit attracted more than half of the snakes in the Snake Valley, but in the end, only 2 were the lucky ones. Snakey understands that could be called one brutal battle for dominance. But at that moment, a deafening roar was heard. The old Snake King showed up, his aura overwhelming everyone. All the snakes stopped fighting and crawled on the ground. Snakey was so terrified that he was left trembling, not daring to move forward. But he recalls that the old Snake King gave him 1 snake fruit, and because of that fruit, he's who he is today. He understands that snakes have always been selfish, ruthless, and cold-blooded. Even members of the same species would kill one another to survive. But he finds that there's no coldness in the old Snake King's eyes, only tenderness, and he doesn't know why, so Snakey asks the old Snake King why he treated him so kindly. However, the old Snake King didn't move anymore, and his life force spread throughout the valley, making it really beautiful. Seeing that, Snakey fell into deep silence, unable to leave. Sadness slowly emerged in his heart. This unspeakable emotion gradually gathered, and eventually it turned into hatred, as tears keep rolling down his eyes, and he furiously promises the snake catcher that he, Snakey, will make sure they pay for this. After that, he heads out into the jungle and places some rocks on top of one another and etches some markings on them, saying that is it. He tells the old Snake King that he'll imitate the humans and erect this monument in his name. He hopes he can be reborn as a human in his next life, and he thinks he understands what he was trying to tell him. A spiritual being would care for their future generation. He remembers that, and if he becomes strong enough, he'll definitely remember to pass on their legacy, so not to worry. But Snakey says he's not strong enough right now. The snake catchers have discovered the Snake Valley, so he can't stay there anymore. Right then, he notices a woman fallen on the ground unconscious and wonders if it isn't Song Shi who escaped. She looks like she's on her last breath, and she probably won't survive. Snakey hurriedly hides behind a tree and says he should devour her too. Maybe his golden scales will grow faster. Then he says no, she has clearly escaped, so he wonders if it's a trap. Or what if there are restrictions around her? He understands that he can't be too greedy, as he finds other snakes getting on her body, but then Snakey wonders where that junior brother is. He tricked his senior brother and killed him last time, so he wonders if it could be that he did it this time too, and the old Snake King's head, if it was also placed at the exit by him on purpose. but Snaky questions why he would do that. Right then, he finds a huge snake trying to devour Song, and hurriedly tells it not to eat her. However, it's too late, as Song's body explodes along with the snake's head, and Snaky frightenedly says, "Indeed, it's a trap. That guy is terrifying," and he wonders what on earth he wants to do. Nearby, Ju notices the sound and says there was an explosion, so Song Shiyu must be dead. He sits in front of a gravestone and tells his dad, mom, and little sister that he'll avenge them. He bows before it and says, "Liu Tong, Chen Zhu, Ding Hai, Song Shiyu. There are just 2 more left to send to the grave. He won't let any of Chen Daoling and his disciples go." Then Ju says it's almost time to go back, and he'll be back another day, as he grabs a wild snake and starts heading back. He reaches outside of the Thousand Snake Valley and excitedly says he guesses Chen Daoling will be there soon. Then Ju intentionally makes the snake bite his arm, thinking that now all he has to do is lure the snake over to eat him. He goes inside the valley and lies near the old Snake King's body, bleeding, and exhaustedly calls for his master to come and save him. Half an hour later, as others from the sect come to check on them, a disciple hurriedly calls his master and tells him the senior brother is nowhere to be found, senior sister is dead, and junior brother is still alive. The master arrives and says fortunately, he's still alive, and tells Ju to quickly take the detoxification pill. The disciple says after a few months of healing, he should be fine, but Ju tells his master that he's incompetent. Master Chen tells him to stop talking. Then he furiously says, "Outrageous," and asks what kind of beast did this. He has lost 2 of his disciples there, so he'll peel off its skin and offer it as the god's sacrifice. Meanwhile, inside the Iron Bear Mountain Cave, Snaky says he's finally back to his own mountain. The snake catchers should still be in the Snake Valley. It's relatively hidden and safe there. He successfully plants the snake fruit tree inside the cave and says it looks to be stable. The environment there is similar to where it grew before, so he hopes it can survive. First, Snaky checks what's inside that guy's storage bag, and gets surprised to find rations and pills. He says that should be enough for him to cultivate for some time and grow his golden scales again. He also finds a beast entrapment and says maybe he can train a monster as his little brother, but then he notices a book titled Thousand Snake Collection and wonders what this book is. Snaky checks it out and says that's great. It has all kinds of snakes, a beast flame born within the body, spraying out its poison. It can kill anyone by touch. He also finds that he's a black yin snake. But later, he reads that the snake was beheaded by the old ancestor and was made into a pill, so the giant snake beast that has reached the foundation stage and can breathe fire can be killed by a single sword. He understands that the most important thing now is to become stronger. It'd be best if he could learn some spells too. Then he grabs a jade slip and says it's clear and complex. He wonders if it can help him. So he uses his consciousness inspection on it and gets a glimpse of several powerful spells. 5 elements: fireball, water explosion, 5 elements escape, earthen motion, water motion, wind mother. Snaky astonishedly says these are all magic spells for immortal cultivators. There are also details for training. He's different from ordinary beasts. He has intelligence no less than humans, so he can definitely learn them. 1 month later, Snaky uses earthen motion technique to quickly swim through the ground, which startles the other animals there. He thinks that after 1 month of training, his earthen motion is much faster than Mu Yun's, and the golden scales on his tail grew. Also, earthen motion plus tail digging gives him double the speed, so ordinary snake catchers won't be able to catch up with him. But Snaky finds that he's hungry and sticks out of the ground, thinking, such a shame he still has too little energy. The fruits can only last him for 1 stick of incense, but it should be enough for a trump card. So he uses fireball on a wild bird in front of him to roast it alive, and thinks, even though the book says the flame will only be born within the body of a black yin sank after establishment, he needed only a few days. After that, as he enjoys the bird meat, he finds a wolf coming at him and says he saw so many footprints near his doorstep. But then he realizes who it actually is and says oh no. Snaky wonders if that's a wolf king and not an ordinary wolf, looking at the gray wolf beast in front of him. He surprisedly asks if it's a beast, and if it can use magic. Then he excitedly tells it. Unfortunately, he's no longer a normal beast, as he takes out his beast entrapment with electricity power and thinks that day is the perfect day to get a patrolling buddy. After that, the wolf beast furiously roars at Snaky, but Snaky sends out his beast taming ring at him and tells it to bit it tightly. The rope-like magical weapon wraps the wolf beast's neck and binds it tightly, which hurts it. As Snaky says with this beast taming right, there's no way it'll break free. Then he orders it down, and the beast taming ring forces it down to the ground against its will. After that, Snakey orders the wolf to come to him, and the beast taming ring forcibly drags it toward him. Then he holds its paw with his tail and tells it to shake tail, and the wolf does it like a good boy. Seeing that, he congratulates it and wishes it good fortune. He also tells it to play, and it does that. Then Snakey giggles with a creepy look on his face and says, "This beast taming ring is quite interesting," which makes the gray wolf very nervous. After that, Snakey tells it that they should go to take him to patrol the mountain, and the wolf rushes through the forest with him on its back. Sometime later, Snakey spreads his divine sense from a vantage point and says, "The wild boars have given birth. A dozen or so fawns and roe deer, the number of sheep is the same, though he suspects the wolves may have eaten a few." He gets amazed to find over 100 more rabbits and says, "Not bad, the self-sufficiency plan is working well." But then, he finds something strange and wonders why this smells familiar. Snakey looks to the side and gets surprised to see the little white snake from before. He wonders if she followed his scent there and says she must be a type of black yin snake, just with a color mutation. He understands that she hasn't formally become a monster or gained intelligence yet, so she can't speak. Also, he wonders, judging by her size, if she couldn't be considered his junior. So Snakey says, as a senior, it's only right to look after her a bit. But then, the small white snake frighteningly wraps herself around Snakey, and Snakey embarrassedly tells her, honestly, in public, to keep it together. Seeing that, the wolf beast growls at her, and Snakey furiously asks why it's scaring her, and tells it to close its mouth and smile gently. Then the wolf beast tries doing that, but it still looks scary, so Snakey tells it to forget it, not even smile. Also, he could remove this beast taming ring and give him freedom, but he must agree to one condition. First, to willingly become his underling, help him hunt daily, and bring the prey to his cave. Second, to patrol the mountain for his daily. If it detects any human presence, then to report immediately, and if he fails, he'll kill him. Then Snakey releases the beast taming ring on it. At that, the wolf beast excitedly lets out a howl, and excitedly starts licking him, and Snakey frustratedly tells it to stop licking him. After that, he returns back inside his cave along with the little white snake, and tells her, calling her Little White, that she'll live there from then on. He'll teach her some basic cultivation techniques, so from then on, to stay inside the cave, guard the snake fruit tree, and meditate there. As long as he has something to eat, she won't go hungry, to which Little White nods. Meanwhile, at the south of the Snake Valley, Master Chen tells a disciple it's a shame that Zhu could only provide a vague shadow of the monster. Otherwise, using the Grand Treasure Compass, they wouldn't have to search for so long. The disciple tells him that Brother Zhao said that when he escaped from underground, he referred to the other as a juvenile dragon. Chen says that's impossible, as if it really were a dragon, they should forget about all. Even he'd die if he encountered it, there'd be no chance to chase or flee. He suspects it's at most an intelligent snake spirit or a body possessed by a cultivator with only limited intelligence. Chen tells the disciple that his brother might have said that just to save face after losing. Right then, he says he found it. It should be in that mountain up ahead. Then they both head separate ways as Chen tells his disciple that they'll search from both sides of the mountain, and if he spots the snake monster, then signal him immediately, to which the disciple tells him yes. After searching the mountain for some time, the snake catcher thinks that he can sense the presence of a snake monster nearby. He also finds the environment humid and thinks he just doesn't know if it's the snake monster. Right then, the snake catcher hears a howl and gets startled to see that there are wolves. He tries to step back as the wolf beast from before and the others surround him and start moving close to him. The snake catcher questions if it's a wolf pack led by a wolf demon, but there's a snake scent, so he wonders if it could be related to the snake monster as he starts charging his energy. Then the wolf beast lets out a loud roar and lunges at him. However, the snake catcher calls it a fool and tells him that he's looking for death, as he uses his skill, Thunder Seal, which electrocutes all the wolves there and badly hurts them. Then the wolf beast hurriedly runs away from there to save its life and warns Snakey. Seeing that, the snake catcher furiously asks if he's trying to run and tells it to die. Meanwhile, the wolf beast keeps running away from him as fast as thinking he's too powerful, so he must alert the black snake, but he gets worried to find that it's finished. There's a cliff ahead. But then, the snake catcher again attacks the wolf demon monster with his skill, Thunder Seal, which blows up its tail and causes it to howl in pain. Hearing that, Snakey wonders, just now, if that was the Wolf King's howl. He worriedly thinks, not good, as if it could be that snake catchers have come for him. So then he tells Little White to stay inside the cave, guard the snake fruit tree, and not come out, as he leaves through the ground thinking he has to get away before they find that place. Snaky understands that even if he has to fight, it can't be there, as he goes out into the mountains and expands his divine sense, wondering how this visitor compares to Mu-Yun. But then, he gets startled to find another divine sense, as the snake catcher's divine sense clashes with his, and he excitedly thinks he found it. He hurriedly moves toward him thinking it's indeed as Master said, just a 4th layer spirit snake monster, but he instructed him not to act rashly, only to hold it off until he comes himself, so he'll signal discreetly first. But then, the snake catcher asks if it's fleeing, but not very fast. He remembers that Zhao said this monster is extremely cunning. It can fight beyond its level. It also pretends to be weak to lure opponents into pursuit, and then counterattacks. He thinks he must be cautious and will play smart to outsmart it, as he shouts, just a mere 4th layer spirit monster, no need for Master to step in. He's at the 6th layer of true refinement, so killing it is child's play. While Snaky wonders if this guy's an idiot, he thinks his cultivation is similar to Mu-Yun's, but his speed is only half as fast. Clearly he's pretending. Saying no need for Master to step in implies his master is on the way. He finds this guy has a bit more sense than Mu-Yun, though not much, so he can't take any risks, as he uses Earth escape technique thinking he'll flee at full speed first, and see his reaction. If he dares to catch up, then. Seeing that, the snake catcher questions if it's suddenly speeding up, so if it's really trying to escape, as he hurriedly goes after him calling him a scoundrel, and asks where he's running off to. He tells him to stop right there. Then he tries to hit Snaky with a powerful thunder seal, but Snaky barely manages to escape it and thinks this magic treasure's power is quite strong, nearly half as powerful as his fireball spell. After that, the snake catcher chases after him into the ground using his earthen escape technique, furiously telling him that he killed his brother, so he won't let him get away no matter what. He adds that if he has got guts, then to stay and fight, as he won't even use magic treasure to kill him, and Snaky thinks he came at full speed after all. Now he has got no energy left to retreat. So then, he takes a sudden turn and goes straight at the snake catcher, which startles him as he wonders if it's a counterattack. He frustratedly thinks he can't stop in time, and they're about to collide. Then he furiously thinks this evil being, it's actually rushing to him. It's underestimating him, so he again tries to attack Snaky with his thunder seal, telling him to let him blast him into nothing. However, Snaky activates his gravitation skill and uses the golden shield talisman he found in the previous snake catcher's bag. And with that, he manages to resist the attack, which shocks the snake catcher. Also, he finds it infuriating that he actually took his big brother's storage bag, but then, he worriedly thinks no, it's going to explode. As at that moment, a powerful explosion occurs, which creates a huge cavity in the earth there, and the snake catcher falls to the ground seeming hurt. He tries to get back up thinking, fortunately, it's his own thunder that caused the explosion, otherwise, but then, he gets surprised by something. The snake catcher sees Snaky coming at him charging up a powerful fireball, which terrifies him, and he hurriedly looks for his life jade. But Snaky obstructs him from using that, as he uses gravitation on it, making it hard to move, which startles the snake catcher. He frustratedly thinks he cannot access the life jade just by a bit, so the protection cannot cover the whole body. Then Snaky activates his fireball skill and throws blazing hot black flames at the snake catcher, which burns him badly and causes him to scream in agony. He understands that black flames can only be produced after the establishment stage. Fortunately, he found the fire medicinal herb, Earth Flame Vine, and ate it. He excitedly thinks it's also leveled up his fireball, as the explosions caused by the fireballs launched by him can be seen from quite far away. After that, Snaky takes that snake catcher's storage bag, and excitedly tells him it's his too. Also, the life jade protected all but his left hand. He's lucky, so it's time to give him the fatal attack. As Snaky throws black flames at the snake catcher again, at that, he cries for his master to help him, while Master Chen comes rushing toward him calling him Muley, and saying that Master is here. Seeing that, Snaky frustratedly says, damn it, it's the crucial moment. His master must be someone he cannot mess with, so he has to run. Master Chen throws a pill at the snake catcher telling him it's the golden pill, to circulate his Kai there and help his wounds first. He'll go after the evildoer, to wait until he recovers and come back to join him. After that, Master Chen starts chasing Snaky and frustratedly thinks it's all his fault. Muley lost an arm. That beast, he'll definitely kill it and sacrifice it to the altar. Meanwhile, as Snaky keeps running away, He checks on him and thinks this divine range of perception, speed, and killing intent. He's afraid he's at least reached the perfect stage of true refinement. Master Chen calls him a beast and says if he surrenders, he could spare him. But then, he gets surprised to see that he's stronger than him, yet he's still pretending, so he wonders if he thinks he's stupid. As Snaky goes into the ground using earthen motion skill, thinking he must run away and not fight him. But then, Master Chen uses his perception sense and gets astonished to find him going underground. He finds it so odd and thinks that the beast is clever. Right then, Snaky hits his face against an extremely tough rock. He says that hurts and questions what it is, then he gets shocked to realize that it's granite. So the earthen motion is no longer useful, and even if his tail can cut through it, it'll be too slow. Snaky understands that he can only escape upward and tries to do that. But Master Chen starts to catch up to him, telling him to stop, as he can't escape no matter what. Right as Snaky gets out of the ground, he gets surprised to find a cliff in front of him and thinks maybe he could use it. Some moments later, Master Chen also rushes out of the ground furiously, calling him a damn beast, and asks where he's running. But then, he gets startled to see the cliff in front of him explode, and huge chunks of rock coming straight at him from above. Master Chen asks if those are falling rocks, and if that's the beast's doing, as he hurriedly uses his skill, Diamond Body Protection, to defend himself from the impact of the rocks. Seeing that from the top of the cliff, Snaky surprisedly asks if it's a magic self-defense tool, and says if he can't kill him, then he'll bury him, as he keeps sending out explosive talismans and tells them to go big. The explosion lasted for half an instance of time. By that time, Master Chen finds himself under a lot of rumbles and shouts out of frustration. He calls Snaky an evil beast, and Snaky thinks this should trap him. Master Chen asks if he thinks he can just push some rocks at him. However, he gets worried to find that he can't move it. Earthen motion doesn't work, so he asks what type of rock this is and frustratedly says this beast is trying to trap him to death. Then he says he didn't expect Master's treasure that he left would be needed at such a moment. He's so pissed, but this is of the most urgent order, as he swallows a pill. Master Chen understands that the violent god pill left by the master requires 20 years of lifespan, and in a short period of time, the cultivation level rises to the foundation establishment stage. After that, he throws away all the rocks surrounding him with a powerful blow and shouts it's the foundation establishment stage, as he's at the first foundation establishment stage. He furiously tells Snaky, calling him an evil beast, that he made him use his secret skill and lose 20 years of his life, and that's why he'll collect his evil spirit. He cannot escape him. Master Chen jumps up high and hurriedly starts moving towards Snaky, telling him that he, Chen Daoling, will peel him and suck out marrow from the bones. Seeing him coming at him, Snaky starts moving faster, asking what the hell, how he escaped this killing intent and speed. He wonders if he has broken through the foundation establishment stage. At that moment, Chen comes right above him, calling him a bastard and asks where he can run to. He tells him they should got to the river, as he uses gravitation skill and drags him into the river. Snaky finds it hard to resist the attack and worriedly wonders inside the water if this is gravitation, as how could a foundation establishment have so much power? Then Chen brings him out, asking if he isn't going to struggle, and tells him that he killed his disciple, so he'll die that day. While Snaky frustratedly thinks it's obviously he who wanted to snatch the snake fruit. However, he then thinks no, he can't just wait for his death, as he turns toward Chen and shoots one of his golden scales at him, telling him to die and calling him a damn old man. Master Chen surprisedly says he even knows how to use hidden weapons, so he's just on his last legs. Then he tries to stop the scale with his gravitation but fails, so he asks what's going on. Then he hurriedly moves out of the way to dodge it and worriedly wonders if gravitation didn't work, so what this hidden weapon is, how it can break his protection Kai. Right then, Snaky activates his water escape spell and says quickly to escape through the water fast. Seeing that, Chen asks if he's running again. As Snaky quickly moves through the water, he understands that Chen is at the foundation establishment stage, so he must get ashore and hide as soon as possible. But he wonders where he hides. Then he thinks, right, Snake Village, the mountain temple, yes, that's his blessed land, blessed by the mountain god, as he goes there to hide. After a while, Chen reaches the temple and wonders, the evil beast is full of tricks, so why he'd choose such a dead end as its hiding place. If there's a trick, he shouts that he knows where he's hiding there, so to get out. Meanwhile, inside the temple, Snaky hopes the mountain god will show up and save him. Even if he doesn't show up, he can just delay him for a while, until he recovers some of his energy back. If not, he'll use all his golden scales to fight him. Then Master Chen tells him fine, since he won't come out, he'll destroy the temple, as he sends flame explosion talismans to burn it to the ground. Snaky anxiously shouts he's doomed. Chen has gone crazy. He wants to blow up the temple. After that, Snaky finds himself trapped under a lot of debris and some kind of dark spirit comes out from the ground. The spirit gets larger and furiously asks Master Chen how dare he. Who dares to destroy his sacred statue? Master Chen stands there still, unable to talk due to fear. Seeing that, the spirit asks if he can't hear him, if he's deaf. While Chen worriedly wonders if it could be the spirit of that legendary old monster, so he thinks of escaping but questions if he could escape now. Right at that moment, his disciple comes running at him, calling him master and telling him that he's there to help, and Chen gets surprised to see that it's Mulei. Then he calls him a good disciple and tells him that he's right on time, as he uses gravitation skill on him, making him float, which confuses Mulei. After that, Chen throws him at that dark spirit and Mulei screams why, while Master Chen runs away from there telling him that he's sorry and requesting him to block it for him. The dark spirit grabs hold of Mulei and starts sucking out his life force excitedly saying, courting death, as Mulei finds it impossible to free himself and difficult to speak. Meanwhile, Chen uses his divine step talisman and runs as fast as he thinks he's no match for him, and wonders how there could be such a strong person in such a mountain. But then suddenly, some dark energy manages to seep inside his body and grabs hold of his heart, which severely hurts Chen and he grabs his chest. The dark spirit warns him that if he dares to show before him again, he'll shatter his soul and he'll never reincarnate. Chen frustratedly thinks he ran so fast and he still managed to hurt him. Fine. He should just wait. Back at the place where the mountain god's temple was, the dark spirit goes inside Mulei's body thinking this body is quite nice. At that moment, Snaky finally manages to free himself and says the young one is dead, and the old one ran away. It's a close call, but he bet right. The mountain god is indeed a spirit. But then, he gets shocked to see Mulei's corpse get up on its feet and slowly turn toward him, looking like a zombie. However, Snaky throws black flames at it, yelling at it that he can't pretend to be dead. He'll grind him to dust. Then they should see how he comes back. After that, he returns to in front of the debris from the mountain god temple and prays to the broken statue, saying there should be no issues now. The corpse is scorched to the bone. He thanks the mountain god for his help, and also thanks him for blessing him, so he tells him that he'll worship him every year from then on. But then, the spirit furiously asks what worship. He calls him a demon creature and asks if his mind is full of wicked thoughts. Seeing that, Snaky surprisedly says the mountain god really appeared. He asks him if he doesn't want him to worship him, and the spirit infuriatedly asks if he isn't in a hurry to make his spirit completely disappear to worship him, as he should know that he ruins his good fortune. So he tells him that he has one stick of incense to find him a body, otherwise, he'll curse him to never reincarnate, which terrifies Snaky and he starts sweating. After that, he heads out wondering if he said never reincarnate, as it'd be better to just kill him. But the spirit tells him to go quickly and not just find a body to fool him, as he wants someone strong, young, and handsome. Hearing that, Snaky rushes out telling him yes, mountain god. Snaky, will do his best, and the dark spirit seems a bit at ease. He hopes this beast doesn't take too long. His spirit is vanishing too quickly, so he needs to find a physical body first. Otherwise, he's afraid his spirit will be scattered. Right then, the dark spirit notices a small mouse near burnt Mulei. Immediately, he gets inside the rat and sits there annoyedly thinking he's the great heavenly demon wanderer. He has lived for hundreds of years and has never seen something so wicked. He frustratedly wonders how he could have been transformed into such a thing in the first place. The spirit recalls that 100 years ago, he was hunted down by several major sects and only his spirit remained. Fortunately, he escaped into the mountain god statue and survived relying on the faith's power. Not long ago, he finally accumulated enough divine power to possess someone's body. Just then, a Taoist and a human came, a good chance for him to seize a body. Unexpectedly, Snaky came and devoured both in a row, causing him to fail in taking a body. But that guy got enlightened because he devoured a bit of his spiritual power. The spirit understands that later, the Q family came, and he tried to seize a body again. But he was beaten by Snaky again. The corpse with a trace of its original spirit was devoured by him, and he got enlightened. The spirit thinks he wanted to be more cautious when he saw him coming this time. But that old Taoist decided to blow up his statue, and the flesh body he has been waiting for so long got destroyed by Snaky again. So he furiously calls him a demon creature and tells him to just wait until he gets a good body. He wonders when this wicked creature is going to find a proper body for him, as he's really looking forward to it. The spirit thinks it'd be best if it could capture a few living men from the village and let him pick. Meanwhile, Snaky digs up one grave after another and frustratedly asks why there are only bones left, as this kind of body is totally not right. He worriedly says if he doesn't hurry up, he'll be cursed to never reincarnate again. Then he hears something and thinks there's movement over, so someone must be buried. Snaky goes in that direction and surprisedly wonders if it's a dog digging a hole, if he's seeing things, if it's eating a corpse, and amazedly thinks, so fierce. Looking at the dog closely, he finds that the demonic aura is strong. He also finds that the coffin was opened and there's a body, so he thinks, no mistake, young and handsome, muscular, dashing. It's perfect. At that moment, the demon dog notices Snaky staring in his direction and wonders if it's a snake demon, if it could be that it's there to steal the meat. But if he's dizzy from hunger, as it looks like it's staring straight at him. Then he confusedly thinks, wait, something is off. He feels like it's not staring at the meat, but him. The demon dog gets terrified realizing that it's targeting him, and hurriedly starts running away as fast as he can. Snaky also chases after him furiously asking where he's running to, and the dog keeps running calling him a murderer, and looking for help, as he terrifiedly shouts a snake demon coming to kill him. Snaky gets surprised to find that the dog is intelligent, also young, strong, and handsome. He realizes that it must be an enlightened beast. He believes that there's no more perfect body. So then he throws his beast entrapment weapon at the dog and grabs hold of his neck. At that, the demon dog furiously asks what he's doing. He tells him to let him go, as he's going to eat him. Snaky thinks this black dog must have eaten too many corpses. It has such a violent aura. Then he frustratedly tells him to stop barking and follow him. After that, he starts dragging him back to the dark spirit and the dog tells him to spare him. He begs him to let him go, but Snaky tells him to shut up, as it's the mountain god who wants to see him, so it's good for him. In the meantime, the dark spirit impatiently walks around thinking the time is almost up. This mouse's body is already showing signs of collapse, so he must seize a new body fast, if that guy doesn't come back. Right then, he gets shocked to see Snaky return and excitedly tell him that he has the perfect body for him. He tells him to look at the demon dog and says it's young, strong, handsome, and dashing. Definitely meets the standard. But the spirit seems speechless and Snaky asks him how it is if it isn't perfect. Then the dark spirit leaves the mouse's body infuriatedly asking him why he doesn't just die. And Snaky worriedly asks him what's wrong, as he did as he wished. The dark spirit quickly comes at him saying there's no time. Good, rather than a dog. He'd choose a fool like him. He furiously tells him to give him his body as he wraps himself around him and tries to get inside, while Snaky tries his best to resist his invasion. Because of that, the dark spirit fails to get inside him and surprisingly asks what if he got stripped away, as this is outrageous. He should try one more time. He frustratedly calls Snaky a wretched creature and tells him to stop struggling, while the demon dog wonders if this really is the mountain god. After a while, the spirit exhaustedly thinks this wretched creature sure is full of strength and wonders why its spiritual consciousness is so strong, as every time he tries to possess it, he gets thrown out. Then he looks at the demon dog and gets surprised by something. He wonders what's happening. As this aura feels so familiar, he wonders what it's radiating and finds it hard to believe. The dark spirit looks closely and wonders if it could be that this black dog has the body of a fiendish demon. Then he enters the dog's body and possesses it thinking, right, it's the body of a fiendish demon, just like the one he had in his prime. After that, the spirit looks through its memory and finds that those sacrificial offerings from back then were eaten by him, so he says no wonder it gained sentience. And even after becoming intelligent, it kept robbing graves and desecrating corpses, building up such a monstrous physique, so the dark spirit understands. With a body like this, it's quite a decent vessel. Then he annoyedly removes the beast taming ring on the dog's neck and questions if it's that fool of a snake's doing, as there's no way this trinket can hold him. By that time, Snaky tries to escape from there thinking he should run as even the beast taming ring isn't working, and the spirit yells at him to stop right there. He tells Snaky that seeing as he has provided him with a suitable body, he has decided to take him in as his disciple, and Snaky surprisedly wonders if the mountain god wants to take him in as a disciple. The spirit says that to become the disciple of the wandering heavenly demon is a great honor, so he tells Snaky to come, acknowledge him as his master, which confuses Snaky. He asks what he means by heavenly demon, as if he isn't the mountain god. The spirit laughs and asks when he said that. He just borrowed the statue to temporarily reside in. He was the one who mistook him for the mountain god. Snaky frustratedly wonders so if he has been praying to as a fraud, and asks the spirit if he isn't afraid of facing retribution or going to hell for impersonating a god. Hearing that, the spirit laughs even louder. Then he says in a creepy tone that he doesn't think there's any saying about retribution in the memories he gave him. Hell is just a comforting lie for ants to cling to, so he asks why he's still holding on to such beliefs. The spirit tells Snaky to look at this black dog, as it robs graves, desecrates corpses, and cares nothing for gods or devils. This is what the heavenly demon's inheritor should be like. But Snaky nervously asks what wandering is, if they're beasts that are lost from their pack, as he always swallows them whole, which leaves the dark spirit speechless. After that, they head back to the Iron Bear Mountain and the spirit asks Snaky what he's waiting for. He tells him to move quickly, which irritates Snaky. He frustratedly tells him that this is his territory and asks who said he could follow him. The spirit asks what now, if his master is not allowed in his territory, and the puddle in front should be connected to an underground cave, so if it's his nest. Snaky tells him that he's not his disciple. Then he annoyedly thinks, this damn dog. He has been testing him with speed all day. But he can't shake him off, as the spirit asks with a smug look if he's tired already. Snaky understands that this strength is clearly immense. What's more, now that he's in dog form, he finds himself feeling less hostile toward him, so maybe he should just offer him something and send him on his way. At that moment, the Wolf King returns with a meal for him and Snaky excitedly asks if it's a fat goat, and tells him that he did a great job as he's starving. However, the spirit calls the Wolf King a wretched creature and tells him that he's practically his master's master, so he asks where the respect is, which startles the Wolf King and Snaky as Snaky devours the goat. Then Snaky mockingly says that wolves feast on meat, while dogs eat trash, so he excitedly tells the Wolf King to give the spirit some trash to eat, and the Wolf King proceeds to trash in front of him. At that, the spirit furiously lunges at the Wolf King and bites him, calling him a vile creature, and telling him that he's going to bite him to death, which worries Snaky and hurts the Wolf King. Then he hurriedly behind Snaky and the spirit says fine, it's been ages since anyone dared to insult him like this, and asks Snaky if he realizes the consequences of being disrespectful to him, calling him disciple. Snaky tells him he wasn't being disrespectful, as dogs do like eating trash. Then the spirit arrogantly asks if he admits that he's his disciple. Snaky irritatedly says he didn't and thinks his smile is so shameless. The dark spirit explains that he has shown his grace, and he even kowtowed to him before. Being stubborn won't change the truth. He tells Snaky that he's his master, whether he likes it or not, and Snaky nervously says, well, he does have a point. But then, he says hell, he's not falling for that and uses water traversal technique to escape. The spirit laughs out loud and chases after him, saying it has been many years since he has laughed like this, so it's nice to have such a fun snake with him. After that, they get to Snaky's nest, and looking at Little White, Snaky says he didn't expect her to withstand it. She's starting to become a demon, and she even learned the breathing technique. Then Snaky proceeds to check Mulay's storage bag and tells the spirit to not cling so close to him, to get off him. The spirit says it's all junk, yet he's acting like it's some priceless treasure. He wouldn't take it even if he gave it to him. Snaky takes out everything from the storage bag and finds pills, talismans, herbs, jade slip, and says it's all identical to Mulay's stash. He says that pill furnace looks pretty decent, and confusedly asks what that stone is for. However, the spirit lunges at it excitedly, saying a spiritual stone. Snaky tries to keep him away, calling him a sly dog, and asks if he didn't, says he wouldn't want it even if he gave it to him, so if he's trying to steal it instead. Then the spirit walks away, saying he was just curious and wanted to take a closer look. He's not interested at all, to which Snaky confusedly wonders if he left just like that. But looking at his wagging tail, he clearly wants it. After that, he finds miscellaneous talks on spiritual herbs, 45 essays on spiritual herbs, pill refining notes, and says this jade slip is all about refining pills. Then Snaky gets surprised to see Little White getting close to the pill furnace and tells her she seems to really like it. Unfortunately, her current cultivation is still too low, so she can't use it yet. Sometime later, he goes out to refine his gravity technique, thinking, in the last fight, that old man was able to hit him from several hundred meters away with his gravity technique. He needs to have such mastery too. The Wolf King howls and comes running with food for him, and Snaky gets excited to see that he brought a wild boar. He says, well, having a minion to bring him food every day isn't such a bad idea. He puts the whole boar in his mouth and says wild boar tastes much better. That goat had a strange odor. But then, the spirit tells him if he keeps eating ordinary animals like this, it's going to take forever for him to make a breakthrough. Snaky looks at him and annoyedly asks why he returned again. And the spirit tells him with an amused look on his face that even a dog would turn its nose up at food like that. Then Snaky asks what he should eat. The spirit calls him an idiot and tells him, obviously, it's the flesh of demonic beasts, an extract of spiritual herbs. Snaky says easy for him to say, as there is none nearby. And if he's talking about demonic beasts, then there's only the Wolf King. There won't be much improvement even if he eats him. So it's better to keep him around for something else. The Wolf King seems hurt by that. The spirit says, well, that's his issue if he's going to be a recluse, not to expect gourmet meals, as he brings out a ring and tells him to let him show him the storage ring he found the previous day, and that day's lunch. A big bird drops out of it, and Snaky asks if this is a demonic beast. The spirit says it's the spiritual tail chicken, a spiritual fowl raised by a sect specifically for eating. They taste way better than wild boars. He happened to pass by and snatch two. Snaky hides in the ground asking if he's crazy, if he didn't get followed by anyone. The spirit tells him to relax as there's no one in this world who can track him, the wandering heavenly. Then he stops and changes the topic. He excitedly says that they should plush the feather first. As he does that and tells Snaky to look how tender and juicy the chicken is, Snaky drools and thinks, how tender and juicy. Then the spirit uses his flames on the chicken, saying they have to roast it, and asks Snaky if he isn't watching it carefully. The sound of juice draining from the flesh, so crispy. The dark spirit persuasively asks Snaky if he's drooling, calling him his disciple, and if he wants to eat. He says it's easy and tells him to just exchange it with the spiritual stone. Snaky tries his best to stop the temptation and asks if he wants the spirit stone. Then he can dream, as he'd rather starve to death than eat his roasted chicken. But the spirit enticingly tells him to look at this fat and greasy chicken skin. He says this disciple of his is so strong. Then he tells him to just watch him eat it. After that, he tears apart a portion of the chicken and excitedly says it's so hot. The juices went all over, while Snaky sits there still, not saying a word. Some moments later, the spirit shows him a cleaned up chicken bone and says, he accidentally ate it all until on the bones were left. He continues munching on the chicken and tells Snaky that he can eat the chicken bones, so to go on. Snaky turns his face away saying he doesn't care, while the Wolf King also keeps drooling. The spirit calls him disciple and disappointedly asks if he's really not going to eat, as he puts a chicken leg against his face saying this fat chicken leg is a delicacy, so to come and eat. But Snaky irritatedly throws a fireball at him, telling him to scram. The spirit dodges it and says he's his master, so how could he cheat him? He should know that if he sells this chicken, he can get at least 3 spirit stones. So he's getting a bargain. Snaky asks then why he doesn't sell it, if he thinks he's a fool. At that, the spirit asks if he isn't smart. He's a dog right now, so if that isn't inconvenient for him. As for whether he's cheating him, he tells him to look back and see for himself. Hearing that, Snaky looks back and gets surprised to see that the Wolf King broke through to the 3rd spiritual stage. Even Little White has broken through to the 2nd spiritual stage. The spirit tells him to look, as he didn't lie to him. They both broke through after eating some bony residue. This is the spiritual chicken's power. So then, Snaky proceeds to hand the spirit the spiritual stone, telling him, fine, they should trade fairly hand by hand. And the spirit says right, as he takes the stone and gives him the chicken. Immediately, Snaky puts the chicken in his mouth and starts swallowing it whole, amazedly saying it's so nice. His whole body feels warm. He gets excited to find that the demon god cauldron is spinning. The spiritual energy is filling the cauldron, and understands that he's going to reach the 5th spiritual stage. It's a breakthrough. After that, Snaky lets out a burp and gladly thinks this spiritual tail chicken is indeed a demon beast in the last spiritual stage. It got refined and he was able to break through. He believes that the remaining is probably enough for him to refine for a few more days, so he turns to his nest and thinks, finally he finished refining it. Not only did he reach the 5th stage's peak, but he also got more golden scales. Snaky looks back at Little White and the Wolf King and thinks that the old dog didn't lie to him this time. The spirit stone was worth it. They are still refining and practicing, so this old dog seems to know what he's doing. At that moment, the spirit calls him and asks if his disciple is done. how the spiritual tail chicken's effects are. Snaky finds it annoying to admit it but says very good. Then the spirit suggests that they should join forces and catch a few more, and asks what about splitting 50-50, as he can guarantee he'll break through to the late spiritual stage within 1 month, and to great perfection within 1 year. Snaky stutteringly asks if he said perfection within 1 year, how that's possible. The spirit plays with the spiritual stone and tells him not to underestimate his master. Snaky says no, a later stage demon beast is too dangerous, so he tells him to go by himself if he wants to go. However, the spirit says it's long lost its combat skills after being raised by humans. It's not as good as a mid-stage beast. Still, Snaky nervously says he's not going anyway, as last time he went to steal a pig and he almost died. The spirit asks what kind of pig that was. Then he tells him with an evil smile on his face that that's fine, as he'll go by himself, and if he gets chased, he'll come to him. Snaky frustratedly says he has never seen such a shameless dog. The spirit laughs and takes him along, telling him not to worry. It's safe. He asks how he could lie to him. Snaky tells him he can go with him this time, but he's not allowed to call him his disciple anymore. He irritatedly tells him that he has a name, and it's Snaky. Hearing that, the spirit tells him not bad, he can give himself a name. Despite it being terrible, Snaky says that's better than his scattered name or whatever. The spirit says that he's a world-famous demon who has immense power, a demon that can shake the heaven. Snaky annoyedly says it doesn't sound like a good thing, and the spirit frustratedly calls him a brat. Then he says, whatever, there's no point explaining it to a fool like him anyway, before he recovers his power. This name shouldn't be publicized, so he might as well use another one for now, since he's with black fur. He'll call himself Black Emperor. Snaky says okay and teasingly calls him Black Jr. The spirit frustratedly tells him he meant Emperor, but Snaky says as he's the bigger one, he'll call him Big Tom. The spirit says that sounds like a dog's name. Snaky asks if he isn't a dog. The spirit says fine and tells him to shut up, and instead of Black Emperor, to call him Sovereign. Snaky says okay and calls him Black Stain, which annoys the spirit even more. Sometime later, they reach the Zioyal sect, and the spirit asks Snaky if he knows how many immortal sects there are in Chu. Snaky says he only knows the snake-catching sect and asks if there's any other. The spirit understands that it's normal for a snake demon to only know about that, so he tells him to listen carefully, as there are 5 major sects in Chu: East, West, South, North, and Center. He explains that Icy Snow in the north, Kunlun in the west, Pinglai in the east, Snake-Catching Sect in the south. As for the center, it's the Imperial Court's Heavenly Pavilion. All sects, small and big, are under the jurisdiction of the 5 major sects. The snake-catching sect used to be called the dragon-subduing sect. Later on, the sect declined and they changed their name, fearing it'd attract trouble. Snaky asks what about the Zioyal sect they're going to now, what level it is. The spirit says it's a tiny sect, under the snake-catching sect, and has only 5 small foundation establishment cultivators. Hearing that, Snaky tries to run away, telling him to let him go. 5 foundation establishment cultivators. He wants to kill him. The spirit stops him, saying he's afraid for nothing, and asks if he can show more confidence. He tells him to come close to him and asks if he sees that slope ahead. It's where the spiritual chickens are raised by an old man who has built his foundation. Snaky hurriedly says they should go close and take a look. Hearing that, the spirit surprisedly says he changes his mind so fast. Looking at the chickens, Snaky amazedly says so many, there must be hundreds of them, and asks if they're just letting them roam free. If they aren't afraid, they'd run away. The spirit amusedly asks if he said run, as he tells him to try catching one himself. He warns him not to dare, but Snaky says he'll try, as he tries to send his consciousness there. But it hits a shield and he gets hurt instead. The spirit realizes, indeed, it bounced back, and Snaky frustratedly says his consciousness can't penetrate it. Because of that, he tries to run away again, saying there's danger, so they should go. But the spirit stops him, asking why he's retreating, as the light shield can't stop him. He giggles and shows him a powder, telling him to just use this, to which Snaky confusedly asks what this is. The spirit sprinkles the power on the shield and it starts breaking apart, as he excitedly tells him to look closely. This is the transformation powder used for breaking protective shields. After that, he throws some insects inside, saying, and there's this, the spiritual insect that the spiritual tail chicken loves to eat. Seeing the insects, the chickens hurriedly gather in front of them to eat them, and the spirit says should wait underground for them to come close. Then, he tells Snaky to listen to his command, and they act together to catch as many as he can and run. After a while, the spirit says they're coming and tells Snaky to get ready, then he says now. And immediately, Snaky throws his entrapment weapon at the chickens and captures quite a few. The other chickens hurriedly try to escape from there, but the spirit grabs hold of some and asks if they think they can resist him. Then he tells Snaky now to get out, but he gets startled to find that he's already gone and is using his earthen escape technique, telling him nonsense, as if there's a need to even tell him. He hurriedly tells him that he should run away faster, but at that moment, a person comes flying on a sword and says he understands. He was wondering why there are fewer chickens the past few days. Elder Zhu of the Zioyao sect says with a scary look on his face, "So, the wicked beasts are stealing chickens." Seeing that, Snaky worriedly says someone's coming and tells him to run quickly. The spirit irritatedly puts the chickens inside his storage ring and tells him it's just a small fry, so to calm down, and to divide and conquer as he uses his earthen escape techniques and tries to run another way. Elder Zhu gets surprised by that and asks where he learned that trick, as he activates his technique saying to hurry and obey, and orders the earth under the spirit's feet to turn into stone, which obstructs him from using his earthen escape, and he worriedly thinks he can't go down. Then the spirit jumps up high thinking if that's so, then he will run above, which confuses Elder Zhu, as the spirit rapidly jumps from one tree to another to escape from him as fast as he can, saying, "This old man won't catch up to him." Seeing that, Elder Zhao chases after him standing on his sword and surprisedly wonders where that evil beast is running to, and this posture. He finds that it's unlike an ordinary dog beast, so he wonders if he's a human or a dog, as the spirit dashes at the speed of wind using his wind step talisman. Snaky thinks luckily he wasn't caught. A true Foundation establishment cultivator is a terrifying being, and wishes the old dog good luck as he sees the elder chasing him telling him to stop. He wants to eat dog meat that day. After a while, somewhere in a cave, Snaky drops the chickens he brought with him and says it's nice and secluded there, so he should finish refining the chickens first before he goes home to avoid trouble. He believes with these chickens and the pills taken before, it should be easy to break through and reach the peak of the 6th stage in one go, so he excitedly says indeed, the greater the risk, the greater the return. But after Snaky tries cooking one chicken for a bit, he finds that it's burnt and frustratedly says the old dog's method of roasting chicken isn't as easy as it looks. He sheds some tears saying, sadly, he's afraid he's not coming back, but then the spirit shows up behind him and asks who said he's dead, and if called him an old dog, if he wants to die. He sits and frustratedly says that in order to lure that old man away, he was forced to abandon 3 spiritual tail chickens. He's so mad, it's all in vain, and Snaky feels sorry for him. Then he hands him the burnt chicken and a live one and tells him here, and the spirit confusedly asks what he's doing. Snaky looks away and tells him that if he hadn't distracted the enemy, he wouldn't have been able to get 3 chickens. And according to their prior agreement, they split 50-50, so he'll give him 1.5. Hearing that, the spirit amusedly laughs and tells him that he doesn't act like a disciple he has taught at all, to which Snaky annoyedly tells him that he didn't admit he was his disciple. Then the spirit tells him to come on and stop being stubborn. He only wants the burnt one, this one can still be saved, he'll teach him later, so to watch carefully. After some preparations, the spirit tells Snaky to lend him his tail, which confuses Snaky. Then the spirit uses it to cut some vegetables and puts them with the chicken in a pot filled with water. He explains that this chicken can not only be roasted but also stewed. Then he hurriedly says the fire is so big and tells him to add some water, calling him a fool. Snaky does that using gravitation, saying yes. Then the spirit tells him to put the other one too, and excitedly says, plus the natural ingredients and treasures. It's a great tonic. He laughs and says it smells good, and tells Snaky not to let his saliva drip in there. But Snaky keeps drooling, looking in the dish, and excitedly says, black and yellow, and keeps asking if they can eat it now. The spirit checks a bit and says it's almost done. He can eat. Immediately, Snaky uses gravitation and puts his share of 2 chickens in his mouth at once, delightedly saying, good, good. The spirit nervously wonders if he's a glutton, and tells him to eat slowly. After they both finish eating, Snaky lets out a hiccup and happily moves away, thanking the spirit so much, and says he will go and refine, and the spirit gladly tells him, well, to go ahead. But he thinks he's a silly disciple, as he ate those 3 chickens a long time ago. Not only did he foolishly give him an extra chicken, he even thanked him, so he laughs and thinks he's so innocent and cute. A while later, Snaky starts his demon god cauldron refining and tries to break through to the 6th spiritual stage by radiating an insane amount of energy throughout his body. But then, he gets surprised to find that the breakthrough failed and wonders how this can be. If it's because the spiritual tail chicken has not been completely refined. He thinks this shouldn't be. Snaky says that he broke through to the 5th spiritual stage right after eating it last time, so he activates his demon god cauldron and attempts to break through again. But he frustratedly asks why he failed again, if it's because he's too close to the last breakthrough and his foundation is unstable. Right then, the spirit calls him an idiot and tells him to let him help him. As he drops the cooking pot to the ground and uses his skill to order the residues inside to rise, congeal, and burn. Snaky asks if this is the ingredient residue from the bottom of the pot. The spirit does respond to that and orders the residue to gather into a pill, which confuses Snaky. Then the spirit shoves the pill in his mouth saying it's the charging pill and tells him to take it and try again. Snaky finds it hard to swallow as he asks why it smells burnt, but tells him to let him try again. Then he swallows it and manages to break through to the 6th spiritual stage, so he excitedly tells him it worked. 10 days later, as Snaky is training, the spirit calls him his apprentice and tells him, good, he has reached the peak of the 6th spiritual stage in less than half a month. He told him that he just has to follow him and he will guarantee he will reach it in a month, so he wasn't lying. Snaky evasively says he's right, he's grateful, but he'll never steal chicken from there again, even upon death. After that, as they head back home, the spirit tells him not to worry, they'll try another one next time. But Snaky says there's no need to rush for a month really, he wants to consolidate his realm a little bit before reaching the later stage. He understands that this time, he didn't even shed his skin and got only one golden scale. Humans mainly cultivate true Kai, while monsters cultivate their body, so he can't put the cart before the horse and seek quick growth. But then, as they reach the Iron Bear Mountain, Snaky gets startled by something and worriedly asks what that is, and the spirit says what else it could be, it's on fire. Snaky hurriedly goes toward it crying no, and the spirit runs after him asking if he's trying to die, running toward the wildfire. It's just a normal wildfire, what's the big deal? But Snaky says this is not an ordinary wildfire. He frustratedly asks who did this, but the spirit calls him and tells him to calm down. He needs to calm down. Snaky cries saying that he can't calm down, this is his home. Meanwhile, someone says this wildfire is expected to burn for another 7 days. It should burn down the snake demon's forest. Master Chen says he only has 3 years left to live. His only vengeance in this life is to skin the snake demon and extract its tendons to make some snake pills. Zhao tells him this trip will definitely get him what he desires. Chen tells him now he's the only thing he has in this world. He explains there's a more important reason for this. The snake demon and the Thousand Snake Valley have aroused the interest of an elder from the headquarters. The snake catching sect will soon establish a branch there, then he can enter that branch to cultivate. It'll both improve the local cultivation level and bring development to the surrounding villages and towns. Zhao tells him he wonders which elder is investigating this, and Master Chen tells him, a strong person in the core formation stage. At that moment, the elder looks around the area and says it has a flat terrain suitable for building a town, so he'll give it 8 points. There are many springs, suitable for bird breeding, so he'll give it 5 points. It's close to the river, suitable for medicinal garden, so he'll give it 7 points. It's suitable for growing spiritual fields, but the hills are a bit rough, so he'll give it only 3 points. Chen tells Zhao he's Xuan Yangzi. As the fire keeps spreading, Snaky and the spirit hurriedly head to his nest and find the Wolf King and Little White still inside near the spirit fruit tree. Snaky tells them he's there. Looking around, the spirit says even this place is on fire, while Snaky rushes ahead to save Little White and the Wolf King. He uproots the snake fruit tree after placing a talisman on it and tells the two of them to follow him. Snaky hurriedly clears a path through the fire using his skill and tells his friends to go, as he'll take them out. After they manage to get out of the nest safely, Snaky throws water bombs at the fire to keep it under control but gets surprised to find it evaporate instantly. The spirit says so dry, and tells Snaky that little amount of water he has can't put out this wildfire. Snaky exhaustedly says now he finally understands what they mean by a drop in the bucket. The spirit explains that the weather is hot and wildfires happen once in a while, so not to take this accident so seriously. But Snaky furiously says the scale of this fire by no means an accident. He asks if he didn't say that the snake catching sect has many branches in places with rich energy and snake resources. The spirit asks if he's saying there's such a place nearby, and Snaky replies, yes, it's called the 10,000 Snake Valley. He goes there every spring and there are hundreds of thousands of snakes. But the spirit says when the snake-catching sect establishes a branch, there must be a foundation establishment stage or even a core establishment stage in charge. Snakey tells him that's it. No wonder they want to burn the mountain. Then he furiously tries to rush ahead saying he will these bastards, but the spirit stops him telling him not to be stupid, as they have plenty of time to cultivate. Snakey calms down a bit and says he knows. He's not stupid, it's just that it seems like ahead, there's something, as at that moment, Xu and Yangzi moves closer to them. The spirit worriedly asks, 30 miles ahead, if they're human cultivators. Snakey seems surprised to hear that and asks if he can tell. The spirit tells him yes, and asks why he didn't hide immediately like before. He adds that it's a core formation stage. But then, he finds Snakey hiding using his earthen escape technique, and annoyedly tells him to look at him, calling him a useless coward, as he hasn't finished talking yet. He explains to him that he's just a clone, not a real person. Hearing that, Snakey frustratedly asks why he didn't say that earlier, but then, he nervously asks what the power of a clone is. The spirit says he doesn't know. The clones are divided into several levels. The strongest is external incarnation, which is at least a pseudo-core formation stage, and the weakest is the paper clone, barely at the Kai refining stage. But at that moment, Xu and Yangzi's clone notices their presence and quickly starts moving in that direction. Seeing that, Snakey worriedly says he seems to have noticed them and is coming this way, so fast. Then the spirit puts a concealment talisman on him. Snakey impatiently says he's coming and asks if they aren't going to run. The spirit tells him not to panic, as his concealment talisman is undetectable even for a golden immortal. Right then, he gestures to him to keep quiet as he says here he comes. But then, the Xu and Yangzi clone looks in their direction and disappointedly tells them that he can only give them 2 points for the concealment skills, which shocks them. Then he tells them to not hide and to come out, as he swings his hand and demolishes a cliff in front of him in an instant. Snakey, who's on another mountain, frightenedly says, "Damn it, one palm strike has so much power." The spirit tells him not to panic, as he just sensed their aura. He doesn't know where they are, so to just lie down. But Snakey whispers to him and asks if he didn't say that even a golden immortal couldn't sense that. The spirit embarrassedly says the golden immortal is the name of the pet he used to have. After that, Xu and Yangzi gets surprised to find that the beasts weren't on that cliff and questions if this is an illusion, or if it's the quality of his clone not being good enough, as if he can't detect it. Then he leaves saying, whatever, his task is more important. The 10,000 Snake Valley is just ahead, so he should go and see how many points he can give it. Snakey seems relieved and says he's finally gone. But then, the spirit asks if he saw the storage bag on the clone's waist. Snakey flusteredly tells him to stop it. If he wants to go on. But he doesn't want to die. It's the core formation stage. The spirit tells him to listen to him. That clone can't even break through the concealment talisman. At most, it's just a foundation establishment stage paper clone, so he has more than a 50% chance of killing him. He adds that that's the storage bag of a core formation stage cultivator's clone, so he wonders how many spirit stones are in it. Snakey says he can kill the clone, but asks what about the original body. He doesn't want to be held hostage by a core formation stage cultivator, but then, the spirit asks if he doesn't want revenge. His house was just burned to ashes, which touches Snakey's sore spot. The spirit asks if he doesn't hate it when someone burns down his house, if he doesn't want to be a helpless dog for the rest of his life. Snakey irritatedly tells him he's the dog. The spirit says anyway, he knows what he means, and asks if he doesn't want revenge or not. Snakey says of course. He wants to, but 50% certainty is too low. He gives him some golden scales saying he saved a lot of them and asks how confident he's with that. The spirit excitedly says 70, no 80%, and when the time comes, he'll bring it to over 90% with some strategies. After that, Snakey explains that situation to the Wolf King and Little White and shows them a path telling them that they'll follow it to the next mountain. He also tells them to find a cave to hide in and cultivate well. He'll come find him when it's done. After that, they head their separate ways, and the spirit looks back at the Wolf King and Little White thinking it's fate, so he'll offer them some luck. As for when they can digest it, it depends on them. In the meantime, the Xu and Yangzi clone reaches the 10,000 Snake Valley and excitedly says 10 points. No, more than 10 points. This is the perfect snake farm. Every spring, snakes from a radius of 200 miles come there, so what could be more perfect than this? It's time to send the jade slip back. It's definitely satisfactory. Right then, he senses a presence and says he thought it's an illusion, but someone really is following him, and questions if it can also draw formations. Shuin tells it that it's trying to hide, but then it wants to attack, so he throws a detonating talisman telling it to hurry and obey, and it causes an explosion. But he asks if it didn't explode, as it's pretty fast. Then he furiously asks where it's running, as he uses his gravitation skill to grab hold of it and pull it up, and gets surprised to find that it's a dog. The clone asks him where his master is, but at that moment, the spirit's body explodes with a smile on his face, and Shuin hurriedly covers his face wondering if it's a self-explosion. Then he thinks no, and wonders if it could be an illusion. He hastily looks around wondering if he's in the illusion's range. He's afraid that there's an expert there, so he must send a brief message. But right then, the spirit grabs him from behind and asks if he really thought it was all an illusion, and Shuin seems shocked to find that the exploded flesh gathered into a body again. He understands that the black dog exploded, so it's real, it wasn't an illusion, but before he could do anything, the spirit cuts off his head with one of Snaky's golden scales and it falls to the ground. The spirit looks at the headless clone's body and thinks this should do it. He didn't expect it to be so easy. But then, the headless clone grabs him by his neck. The spirit gets surprised by that and lets out a loud cry. The clone's head that's fallen on the ground says that he's a wooden clone, so what if his head falls off? Shuin Yongzi says with a devilish grin on his face that he will give the spirit only 6 points for that trick, barely passable. The spirit tries his best to free himself but frustratedly thinks that these dog paws are so hard to use. Also, what's up with this clone, as its hand is twisted like a pretzel, yet it still has such strength. He remembers Snaky amazedly saying he got it, and asks so if the clone can be killed just like that. The spirit said yep, this clone is only meant for scouting, it should be made of paper. Snaky found it hard to believe how simple it was, then the spirit told him to listen up. After he chops that person's head, he has to just follow the plan and play his part. Then they'll split whatever's in the storage bag. But Snaky asked what if it's not a paper clone, if that wouldn't put him in danger. The spirit laughed and put his leg on his face asking who he thinks he is. He can tell at a glance that it's a worthless clone. Snaky irritatedly told him to get his paw off him. Now the spirit seems frustrated at Snaky as he's such a jinx and calls him out loud. Immediately, Shuin Yongzi's body gets shot by several of Snaky's golden scales, which shocks him. The head wonders if the clone just splintered and understands that the dog was just a decoy. Snaky puts the head in his mouth and charges his fireball technique. While the clone wonders what kind of technique this snake just used, he couldn't sense it at all. So he excitedly thinks their teamwork is worth 10 points, as Snaky burns him to ash with his flames, furiously telling him to die. After that, the spirit comes back down frustratedly saying it hurts. He miscalculated. Who would have thought it was a wooden clone? This stuff is expensive, using it just for scouting is such a waste. But then, he sees Snaky continuing to throw fireballs at the clone and hurriedly tells him to stop, as he's already dead. If he keeps going, they'll both turn to ash too. After that, Snaky gets excited to see him and says he's still alive. The spirit also sheds tears of joy and calls him a brat. But then, Snaky furiously asks, so if this is his so-called 80% confidence, why it was so flimsy. The spirit asks what he knows. Weakening his power cost him dearly, and without his divine consciousness sealing array, if he thinks he could have snuck up on him. Snaky brings out more golden scales and tells him that even if he didn't lift a finger, he could have handled it himself, so to keep bluffing all he wants. At that, the spirit questions where he picked up this bastard attitude, and he frustratedly asks why he thinks he's bluffing, as he even stopped him from using this jade slip transmission. If it had gotten out, they'd be dead for sure. Then Snaky tells him to burn it already. After that, Snaky burns it with his fire. The spirit gets amazed to see that and tells him that his black flame is quite strong. It can even burn jade. Then Snaky asks what about now, if they're safe. The spirit says not yet. The news didn't make it back, but that person is still a golden core expert. If he found out that his clone died, he'll definitely come personally to investigate. Snaky gets worried by that and immediately runs off, to which the spirit calls him a coward and frustratedly tells him not to run around blindly like a headless fly. Snaky says they're waiting for death if they don't. The spirit explains to him that the snake catcher sect's power in Chu country is widespread, so if he wants to avoid being hunted, he'll need to flee to a neighboring country and lay low for a while. Meanwhile, at the snake catcher sect headquarters, in the Immortal cave abode, Shuin Yongzi gets surprised by something. He realizes that the wooden clone is dead. Even the recording jade slip couldn't be retrieved, so he wonders who did this. Shuin asks if it isn't quite amusing, as he understands that although the wooden clone's strength is mediocre, its aura and divine consciousness perfectly mimic a golden core cultivator. So for someone to not only see through it but also dare to attack, this has truly caught his attention. Then Shuin calls his disciple Subei, and Subei responds. Shuin orders him to bring 5 inner disciples with him and go to the vicinity of 10,000 Snake Valley to investigate the person who attacked his clone, and Subei says as he commands. At the same time, Snakey and the spirit are running away. Snakey asks the spirit that they've already run 500 miles, so why they are still not in the kin country he mentioned. The spirit tells him that it's still a long way. They'll need a few more days to just reach the border. Snakey surprisedly asks if it's that long. He starts panting heavily and says he's exhausted. The spirit frustratedly tells him he brought this on himself. He could have just slithered normally, but he insisted on using the earthen escape technique. Snakey says he was just trying to strengthen his physical body. The spirit says that the area is remote, and there's an abandoned excavation ahead, so they'll camp there for the night. Snakey says okay. They can also take a look at what's inside the storage bag. But then, the spirit hurriedly tells him not to fall asleep there. However, Snakey does fall asleep and the spirit drags him into a cave frustratedly saying he really can't stand him at all. After that, he goes to hunt. Sometime later, Snakey wakes up and excitedly says sleeping feels so good. Running for a few hundred miles with the earthen escape technique has made his body stronger. Then he says time for some real business as he looks at the storage bag and tells it that here he comes, and uses his skill to erase the divine consciousness imprint on it. But he gets surprised to find that it resisted, and he can't open it. Then he says again, as he again activates his divine consciousness and tries to erase the imprint. However, the storage bag reacts to that by throwing stones at him. Snakey cries and finds it hurting. Then he disappointedly says he can't open it at all. At that moment, the spirit returns with food and surprisedly asks if he's still trying to open it. And Snakey says so this is a golden core cultivator's divine consciousness imprint. Alright, then he'll force it open with his golden scales and proceeds to do that. But the spirit hurriedly tells him to stop, calling him an idiot, as he'll damage the treasures inside. He tries to take it from him that it's just divine consciousness, so he'll solve it. But Snakey doesn't let it go and asks if he's sure if he isn't going to secretly stash any treasure for himself. The spirit says trash, as he asks if he looks like that kind of person, and tells him to give him 3 days. He promises to open it. 7 days later, in the Gobi Desert, the spirit excitedly tells Snakey that they've reached the kin country's border, to which Snakey gladly says finally. The spirit brings out his cooking pot and tells Snakey that they'll camp there that night and cross the river the next morning. Snakey tells him fine. He cooks, and he'll dig a little bit more. After that, he goes into the ground and says the earth there is hard and rocky, perfect for training. The spirit warns him not to overdo it, as if he gets stuck, he won't save him again. Snakey understands that earlier, he could only reach 100 meters at most, but after training for a few days, he has hit 200 meters, no, 300 meters. He finds it amazing that he can still go on, but he also understands that the pressure feels like his bones are breaking, and he can barely breathe, so he's at his limit. He finds that his tail's golden scales are growing again. Just as he guessed, the number of scales is tied to physical strength. The stronger his body, the more scales he'll have. He understands that a demonic beast can't just level up rapidly without strengthening their body. Sometime later, he returns back up and asks the spirit if he's done cooking. The spirit leisurely tells him yeah, he has already eaten, and the leftovers are all his. He says the storage bag's divine consciousness is finally undone and tells Snakey to open it later as he's out of strength. Snakey teasingly tells him he even bluffed and said it'll only take 3 days. The spirit tells him to shut up. After that, Snakey empties the storage bag and finds pills, talismans, herbs, low-level treasures, technique jade slip. He seems surprised to find that they're all ordinary items. He wonders what about spiritual stones, why this golden core cultivator's storage bag is worthless than moules. Snakey asks the spirit if he doesn't want to look, as they said they'd split it. The spirit says it's useless to him, so he tells him to keep it all, which makes Snakey skeptical of him. The spirit amusedly asks what's with that look, why a master would steal his disciples' items. Then Snakey furiously calls him an old thief and tells him to take out what he hid. The spirit worriedly asks if he's talking about spiritual stones. What stones? He didn't take anything, but Snakey frustratedly tells him that he didn't even mention stones. It seems he caught himself. Then he starts beating him and the spirit desperately tells him to stop it. They should talk, no fighting. He begs him to let him go and says there's a total of 10 spiritual stones. He'll give him half. After that, the spirit tells him with a smile that it's for his own good. What use he has with so many spiritual stones? He's just helping him store it. Snaky tells him to get lost, as he's studying this jade slip technique now. But he asks what this is, and the spirit asks if he didn't check earlier. He explains that it's the method to refine wooden clones. However, it's solely for bluffing people. He advises him to learn another clone technique, as if anyone masters it, the clone can be even stronger than the caster's real body. Snaky gets astonished by that and asks what it's called. And the spirit seems amused to see him interested. He asks if he has ever heard of one of the 6 immortal arts, puppet technique. He says that Kin Country's top sect, Heavenly Puppet Sect, is expert in puppet technique, to which Snaky gets confused. The spirit explains it's rumored that all of their puppets are stronger than their caster. Puppets can't feel pain, and their body is comparable to a demon beast. Around 80 to 100 can be deployed at the same time. They are unparalleled among the people in the same rank, and can also kill someone who's in a higher realm. Snaky excitedly thinks if he really learned it, when he fights with someone, before anything else, he'll deploy 100 puppets and give them a few punches first. He wonders if that isn't just the best. Seeing his expression, the spirit pulls his cheeks and asks what he's thinking about, as it's time to sleep. They need to cross the river early the next day. Snaky says it hurts. The next day, after they reach the river, the spirit says this is the geese descending river. Just as its name stated, not even geese can fly over it. Of course, any normal cultivator can't do it either. Snaky asks if they can't just swim across it. The spirit tells him not to even think about using the water traversal technique, as there's a lot of whirlpools inside the river, to which Snaky nervously says it's so dangerous. The spirit says he advises him not to be conceited and properly pay money to ride the boat, as there's only one boat going to Kin Country per day. After that, they move forward, and the spirit tells a crewman that he wants to get on board. The crewman looks back and confusedly asks who's talking. Then the spirit says he doesn't have money on him, but asks if this spiritual stone shouldn't be more than enough. The crewman looks down and surprisedly says so he's there, as he showed up in disguise. The crewman says of course and requests him to come on board. After that, as the spirit gets on the boat, the crewman asks him to be careful and says he finds it hard to believe he gave a spiritual stone. He's too generous. But then, some hooligans mockingly ask where this dwarf came from. He might get blown away by the wind later. Another says he doesn't think so, as he might be short but he looks fat, and they laugh. Seeing them making fun of him, the spirit gets quite irritated and throws them out of the boat with his wind skill, and the hooligans scream as they fly away. Because of that, the spirit grabs everyone's attention, as the people find it amazing that the people flew so far away, and nervously say this is actually an immortal. The spirit annoyedly says a boat of idiotic humans, how dare they laugh at him. But Snaky, who's below him inside the disguise, asks if he didn't say they need to be low profile, so why cause troubles? Right then, they hear someone telling Elder Zhu that their Kin Country's little prince is already on board, and Elder Zhu thanks them for showing the way. The spirit wonders why this voice sounds familiar. He looks back and finds a woman requesting Elder Zhu to come there, and the spirit gets shocked to realize it's that old man, the person raising chickens in the carefree sect. Snaky hurriedly says they should run, but the spirit tells him to shush and not move. They're going to get notices if they run now. They're in a disguise now, so as long as they don't move around, they won't get noticed. Snaky frustratedly asks if a dog's nose isn't quite amazing, so why he didn't give a heads up. The spirit asks who in the world will remember the smelly smell of an old man. Right then Elder Zhu notices something. He looks at them and thinks this person's aura is familiar, so if it's one of his old friends, Snaky says they should run. But then, Elder Zhu tells them to wait. He calls them fellow Taoist and asks if they've seen each other before. Snaky worriedly says they're done for. He recognizes them and asks if they run toward the land, or run into the water. But the spirit nervously tells him not to panic and look at him. Then he laughs and tells Elder Zhu he sure has good memories. They only saw each other briefly during the auction last time, which confuses Zhu. The spirit says he didn't expect him to remember still. Hearing that, Snaky frustratedly wonders what kind of reason this is. However, Elder Zhu says he remembered. He tells the spirit so it's him. They saw each other at an auction 6 years ago, and laughs. The spirit says that's right. Elder Zhu sure has a good memory, and laughs, but Snaky gets shocked to find it actually works. Then a man tells Elder Zhu that the little prince has been waiting, so he requests him to come to the second floor. Zhu tells the spirit as he can see, he still has matters to attend to, so he'll have to leave first, and the spirit tells him sure. As Zhu leaves, Snaky confusedly asks if that's it, and tells the spirit not to tell him that he really saw him before. The spirit explains that people in a sect more or less have gone to an auction before. There's a lot of people in the auction. There's no way he remembers, but it's hard for humans to acknowledge they have a bad memory, especially those old men. Then Snaky releases a sigh of relief and says they dodged a bullet again, and they should quickly hide in a corner. The spirit irritatedly tells him to look at how cowardly he is, as if the worst comes, they just have to fight. But Snaky frustratedly asks if he isn't afraid too, as his sweat even dripped on him. But then he says that Elder Zhu and Qin Country's royalty are completely unrelated, so why they're together. The spirit explains that the world's bustle and activity are driven all by profits, and the world's in turmoil because of that. Snaky asks what profits, and the spirit says maybe the Qin Country is seeking glory. Then he releases a sigh and says he's just a snake, so he questions what's the use of telling him all this. As night falls, they reach the Qin Country's border Riverside City, and the spirit says this place gets chaotic during the night, so they should find a place to rest. So then they head to a big restaurant where people are enjoying drinking and eating food. The spirit tells the host to give him a top quality private room and serve the best food and drinks, especially demonic beast meat. He wants more. The host says yes and requests him to follow him, as he shows him to his room. Sometime later, they serve them a ton of delicious looking food. Then the spirit tells them that he wants booze, quickly, and not to mix water into it. A waiter says okay, he's coming. After that, the host tells him that their dishes have been served. Seeing all the food, Snaky excitedly tells the spirit it's really demonic beast meat. He can't endure anymore, and the spirit annoyedly tells him to just hold it in. Then he tells the host alright, he can go out now, he'll call him if it's not enough, and the host leaves. Right as they hear the door slam shut, Snaky asks if he's gone and jumps out of the disguise and excitedly says it's meal time. As he and the spirit both lunge at the food and start filling up their stomachs as fast as they can. The spirit throws away the vegetables asking who the heck eats them. Snaky says delicious, it's really a demonic fish, so delicious, and the spirit drinks from a pitcher saying it's been a while since he drank booze. Snaky asks what it tastes like and tells him to let him have a taste. But then, the spirit throws it up and frustratedly asks what kind of rubbish booze this is. Not even a dog will drink it. But Snaky asks if he isn't a dog. Then he says the taste is weird, so he tells him to not tell him there's in it. Then, the spirit surprisedly says he even knows about not bad, but he tells him that his eyesight is bad, as not only the booze, there are in the food too. Snaky immediately throws up and says he should have said that earlier. The spirit says that this is the lawless place, Riverside City, so he tells him not to get surprised. And it's just a drug. He throws an antidote at him and tells him since they started it, then they shouldn't blame them. He shouts at the host waiting outside that it's not enough and to bring another roasted demonic beast. The host worriedly tells his boss that the person has eaten 1,000 taels of silver worth of food, also 2 whole demonic beasts. So he asks if they should continue to serve. The boss tells him to continue, and change it to the strongest immortal weakening pill, as his cultivation must have been incredible. He's sure he has a lot of money and treasure on him, so this is worth it. The host says yes boss. After that, the spirit amusedly says those idiots really roasted a whole demonic beast, and the leftovers are enough for them to eat for 2 days. Seeing him acting so high and mighty, Snaky asks what he's daydreaming for, as it's time to go, but he asks if they're going just like this. The spirit says of course and tells him not to tell him that he wants to pay, as he packs all the food and proceeds to jump out of the window. He explains that this is a scam shop no matter how they look at it. But Snaky says what he means is if they aren't going to kill them and snatch their money. He even got ready to burn this shop down. The spirit says sometimes he has even less humanity than him, to which Snaky says he is not a human anyway. He's a snake. Meanwhile, at the restaurant the boss orders to slam open the door, as he says that drug is so strong not even an immortal can withstand it. But then, he gets shocked to find the room empty with no food left and says he doesn't believe it, where he is, if he ran, while the host wonders how it's possible. He was still there just a moment ago. Then the boss furiously orders him to go inform the people from the Heavenly Puppet sect and search the entire city, as how dare he eat without paying. he'll kill him no matter what. The host hurriedly says yes. Sometime later, the spirit and Snaky reach an abandoned house and the spirit says this place should be safe. He tells Snaky to take him time to refine, and he'll go out to do something. He'll be back soon. Snaky says okay. But he thinks, okay my foot, as he irritatedly wonders what that dog is going to do behind his back again. No, what if he attracts enemies there? He understands that he needs to follow him, and goes after him using his stealth talisman, while the spirit giggles as he goes into the city putting on his disguise. After a while, the spirit enters a house laughing and saying this must be the place, and Snaky seems confused to find that it's a weapon shop. The spirit asks the weaponsmith for 3 excellent weapons. In exchange he offers him a total of 8 spirit stones and says take it or leave it. The weaponsmith tells him to let him take a look, calling him Shorty. Seeing that, Snaky thinks of the spirit as a son of a dog and frustratedly wonders if he's selling stolen goods behind his back. He understands that this is from the storage pouch of that Golden Core Realm clone. He said they'd split it 50-50. What a liar. He decides that he'll let him sell everything first, then make him cough it all up. Then, the spirit heads to another shop and offers a total of 15 spirit stones for some pills asking if they're interested. Seeing that, Snaky wonders first a weapon shop and now a pill shop. Yet after that, the spirit heads to another shop and asks for high-grade beast materials in exchange for 13 spirit stones and asks if they're buying. At that, Snaky infuriatedly wonders if beast materials too. Just how much he swiped without him noticing, as he'll pay for this once he returns, while the spirit nervously wonders why he senses a killing intent. But then, Snaky hears someone saying it's almost curfew, and he has to help those losers find someone. Another person tells him to stop nagging, and Snaky worriedly thinks someone's coming. Yu Kang from the Heavenly Puppet Sect frustratedly tells his companion Zhao Yiduo that of all places, he gets stuck guarding this backwater city for 3 years, and asks how he got so unlucky. Zhao tells him there's no point complaining, since they've failed to break through to the Foundation establishment realm. They follow orders, and although Linjiang City is chaotic, if they play right, there's profit to be made. But then, he notices the spirit and gets surprised by his build, as he asks if it isn't that short guy who dined and dashed. Yu says it's him. What a hassle. Even this kind of trivial matter requires them to intervene. He steps forward telling Zhao to wait, as he'll take care of him right away, but Zhao stops him calling him junior brother. He tells him to hold up and thinks for a moment. Yu asks him what's wrong. Zhao tells him to look. He entered the Myriad Treasure Pavilion, so he might have something valuable. They should follow and see first. Yu amazedly says he's so sharp. Hearing all that, Snaky wonders if they're Heavenly Puppet Sect disciples, as he thinks it looks like the old dogs got their attention. Luckily, they aren't Foundation establishment cultivators. As they move forward, Yu tells Zhao he looks quite happy and Zhao tells him that this is the prophet he was talking about, while Snaky thinks maybe he can pull off a cat catching a mouse while the dog watches. Meanwhile, inside the shop, the spirit surprisedly asks if the owner himself has shown up, as it's perfect. He hands the owner a pouch and tells him to take a close look and tell him what it's worth. The owner says with a smile, "All right, sir." The spirit tells him to look carefully, as this bag of his is full of good stuff. But then, the shop owner gets surprised by something, and the spirit asks if something's wrong with it. The owner hastily steps out of the front desk and tells him this is a significant matter, so he asks why they don't discuss this inside. The spirit tells him he's quite perceptive. He likes it. Then the shop owner tells his servant Old Lai to close the door, but Lai tells him it seems there's still someone. The owner furiously yells at him to shut up. Of course, he knows how he can let them disturb his business. As Lai closes the door, Zhao says he didn't expect that Shorty to actually be a big spender. Yu tells him he must have robbed and killed someone to get all that. Then Zhao says the Myriad Treasure Pavilion pays a substantial tribute each year, so it's best they avoid turning them into adversaries. Yu says in that case, they'll wait for him to come out, and however, over 2 hours have passed, and the 2 cultivators are sitting on the street, completely drenched in rainwater. Yu asks Zhao how much longer they're going to wait, if he isn't coming out yet. Then he finds the door opening and hurriedly says they should go, but they find the owner excitedly saying he has stuck gold that day. He brought himself a rare treasure for 100 spirit stones. However, he gets surprised to see the 2 cultivators and asks if there's something they need from him. Yu irritatedly tells him to cut the act and Zhao asks where the short guy is, who was selling stuff earlier. The owner says he sold a bunch of treasures, bought some body training pills and flesh of spiritual awareness monster. Yu grabs him by his collar and furiously asks who cares about that, where's the shorty? The owner nervously tells him that he went out the back door, then Yu throws him onto the floor and hurriedly leaves with Zhao as he tells the owner they'll talk to him about it later. After that, the two cultivators get on the roof and rush forward as Zhao tells Yu to hurry after him. He's definitely heading out of the city, so to spread his divine sense toward the south gate. Yu quickly activates his divine sense and manages to locate the spirit. He tells brother Zhao that he found him and they both run after him. Seeing that, Snaky thinks given his cultivation level, there's no way he hasn't noticed the cultivators following him. So he wonders if he's deliberately moving this slow to use them as bait. Although with their strength they shouldn't be able to kill the old dog, just in case one of them escapes and warns the others. It could lead to an endless disaster, so he'll stay back just to be safe. After a while, the spirit enters the abandoned house and the cultivators follow him there. Yu tells Zhao over there. He entered the deserted house. Zhao questions why he'd go to a place like this, if it could be a trap. Zhao breaks into the house and shouts where he is, finding only a dog inside. Yu says this is strange, his aura should be there, but there's no sign of him. Then Zhao walks inside saying something's off, this place is too isolated, so they need to be cautious. He addresses the spirit as a fellow Taoist and tells him they're disciples of the Heavenly Puppet sect. They're responsible for maintaining order in Lunjiang City, and they mean no harm, so he requests him to show himself. Yu says his words are too formal, they might not understand, so he tells him to let him try. As he steps forward unsheathing his sword and telling the spirit calling him Shorty that he has 3 seconds to come out and accept questioning. Otherwise, they'll end up like this dog, while the spirit is peeing. Then Yu furiously cuts him into half and counts 1, while the spirit barks out loud in pain. After that, Yu counts 2 and 3, picking up his upper body as he finds purple blood coming out of his body, so he excitedly says just as he expected. But then, the severed half of the spirit in his hand comes to life and it tries to bite him. Yu gets startled by that and furiously asks if he thought he wouldn't know it was him, calling him an idiot. Immediately, Zhao brings lizard puppets out of his storage bag and throws them at the spirit, telling them to nab him. The spirit wonders if it's a mechanical puppet covered in skin, and thinks such low-level junk. Then he laughs and asks them if they think he didn't know that they knew it was him, calling him fools. Snaky sees that using his divine sense, and wonders why he's suddenly laughing like an old schemer. But after that, Zhao tells the spirit, enough games, he's still going to die, as the lizard puppets start charging fire in the mouth and the spirit nervously wonders if it's fireball. Upon impact, the fireballs cause a huge explosion inside the house and Yu asks if they got him. But then, they hear the spirits laugh and Zhao says no, he's still alive. After that, they get shocked to see the spirit's flesh chunks gathering together and Zhao tells Yu to watch out and dodge. He also gets shocked to find his lizard puppets on the ground and starting to decay, so he worriedly asks if this is what happens when they touch his flesh chunks. What a bizarre technique. Then the spirit laughs and tells the two of them to keep going on, calling them old men, as his body starts to regenerate. Seeing that, Yu falls to the ground and frightenedly calls him a monster. Snaky wonders so if this is what loose cultivator really means, and he doesn't feel like he's needed there to help the old dog. As the spirit creepily swirls around Yu, telling him he's there and Yu keeps cutting his body but it keeps regenerating. Snaky understands that he can't hurt the old dog at all, and the person in the distance hasn't made a move. So he excitedly thinks it's better for him to stay there and keep an eye on the distant one, as he questions if he goes down and helps him at the critical moment, if the old dog won't be indebted to him. After that, the spirit asks the two cultivators, now, if they're tired already, as this old man hasn't had enough fun yet. Yu frustrated tells Zhao swords aren't useful against him at all, so to blame his incompetence, as he can only help him from behind, and there's no choice, they should bring out the big guy. And Zhao says he understood. Then Yu takes out his storage bag and brings out a big frog puppet, as he tells brother Zhao that it's time to go offensive, while Zhao takes out a fan. The spirit questions if it's a giant frog, as he thinks that's a toad, so what an idiot. He tells them that this puppet looks so dumb, wondering if they're really planning to attack him together. Then Zhao activates his universal fan and starts charging a huge amount of energy. Because of its influence, the spirit's whole flesh starts deforming and he thinks it's quite interesting. But before he could do anything, Zhao swings his fan at him furiously telling him to die. It sends out a tremendous whirlwind that decimates the spirit's whole body and pulls it back. Snaky also seems to be on the verge of getting blown away and is getting strangled by the storage bag on his neck. The whirlwind moves fast toward Yu, as Zhao calls him Junior Brother Yu and he calls for his giant frog. Yu tells it to swallow him whole, as the giant frog wide opens its mouth and starts to take in the whole whirlwind along with the spirit's flesh. In a matter of moments, the puppet manages to gulp everything. Seeing that, Yu seems relieved and says he must be dead this time. However, Zhao stops him saying he thinks so, but they should not get careless, and Snaky acts worried saying damn it, the spirit got eaten. But then, Zhao tells Yu that his giant frog puppet seems a little off, as he finds it starting to heat up from the inside and its flesh starting to melt, which worries Yu. Immediately, the spirit bursts open the giant frog puppet from inside and frees himself. Seeing that, Yu says no one beneath the Foundation establishment is able to beat his giant frog, and asks if it lost in an instant. Zhao hurriedly grabs him saying this is bad and tells him to fall back, but the spirit gets into the ground mockingly asks if they want to run, as he's not done having fun yet. Then he emerges behind them and tells him that they must die that day. Seeing that, Zhao worriedly thinks their escape route has been blocked. Yu frustratedly tells the spirit that he's a disciple from the Heavenly Puppet sect and asks if he dares to kill him. Zhao tells him to stop wasting words on him, as he can counter puppets but not artifacts. He shouts saying they should just kill him, and the two of them rush forward taking out their weapons and trying to attack the spirit with everything they have. However, the spirit asks if they want to kill him with their puny cultivation. He tells them to keep dreaming, and they've overestimated themselves as he activates his skill Bloody Blade Gale. It turns his flesh into countless insanely sharp dark blades, and he throws them at the two cultivators, shredding their bodies to pieces. The spirit laughs like a lunatic and excitedly tells them that it's time for them to become mincemeat, while Snaky quietly slithers away from there. He releases a sigh and says those two's true Kai is completely messed up. It's only a matter of time before they lose. Too bad the house is destroyed, so he wonders where he should go next. Snaky frustratedly adds he didn't expect that old dog to be so strong. He didn't say anything, so he understands that this won't do. He needs to speed up his cultivation. But then, as he keeps moving forward, he gets surprised by something and wonders why he senses a familiar divine consciousness nearby. Snaky goes there and peeks at the person from a corner thinking it's emanating from there. Seeing him, he surprisedly asks if it's a beggar. Snaky finds the person sitting on the ground and quickly moving his hand making weird gestures, and wonders what this beggar is fiddling around, if he's a retard. But then, he looks at the person closely thinking, no, that look and that scar, and surprisedly wonders if it isn't similar to one of the cultivators from the Heavenly Puppet sect. Seeing that, Snaky realizes something. While the spirit uses his skill soul-searching technique on the corpses of the two cultivators but confusedly asks why there's no reaction. Snaky understands that what the spirit killed earlier was a puppet, and this must be the real body. It's said that the Heavenly Puppet sect allows their disciples to refine puppets identical to themselves, creating confusion. So he hurriedly hides thinking this has to be Zhao's real body, but he also wonders what if it's just another puppet. Snaky thinks no, there's no one else suspicious within 100 miles, so it must be him, and maybe he has some kind of life-protecting treasure, so he needs to act fast and carefully. He can't be allowed to live. At that moment, a crackling sound occurs over Zhao's head and he regains his senses. He frustratedly says his puppet is gone. Yu Qiang also died, so he wonders who that black dog was. Suddenly, he gets startled by a bright light to his side coming from the roof of a house. Zhao hurriedly covers his face and says it's so glaring. But then, he gets on his feet and seems shocked to realize that it's a huge ball of fire being charged by Snaky and asks just what this is. At that, Snaky frustratedly wonders if this guy woke up now, as he can't hold it anymore. His mouth burns, and his head feels heavy. So then, he furiously tells Zhao there's no need to care about who he is, and to just die, as he throws the huge fireball at him, and Zhao hurriedly activates his body protective jade, waterfall protection, protective armor. He tries his best to stop the fireball with his armor, furiously asking which demon dares to sneak up on him, as the 5 elements counteract one another, and he's protected by waterfall, so he can't do trash to him. But then, Zhao gets electrocuted by something and screams in pain. He wonders if it's Thunder Talisman. He thinks he understands. That bastard combined 5 element talismans and threw them all at him. What an idiot. He wonders if he doesn't know talismans can explode, as he breaks his armor and moves back. But then, Zhao gets shocked to find that his hand got stuck and wonders, wait, if there are talismans on the wall too, if this is something a human can do. After that, Snaky shouts at him that he noticed too late and calls him an idiot, as he activates Fire Exploding Talisman, Wind Blade Talisman, Thunder attack talisman and tells them all to explode together. Zhao hurriedly activates an artifact, mythical yellow bell, and puts up a barrier to defend himself, calling Snaky a despicable bastard and telling him not to think he'll get away with this. As with this treasure protecting him, there's no way he can hurt. But right then, something comes straight at him from above and he dumbfoundedly wonders if the barrier broke. Zhao screams no, as all the talismans land a direct hit on him and cause a huge explosion. After that, he coughs heavily as most of his body is burnt beyond healing and laboredly asks how it is possible, finding it hard to believe that the mythical yellow bell's defense got broken. Then Zhao looks ahead at Snaky and gets surprised to see Scales. He asks just who he is, but Snaky terrifiedly asks if he's not dead yet. So he charges Fireball technique right in front of Zhao and Zhao frustratedly calls him a damned monster. After that, Snaky repeatedly keeps throwing fireballs at him to make sure that he's completely dead. His fireball barrage continued for 30 minutes, and because of that, the residents hurry out of their homes asking which of the forces are fighting outside the city wall. They have to escape. They expect the worst and worriedly ask if the Immortals are fighting. The spirit also wonders what's going on. He doesn't want to hear it's done by Snaky as just what made him so freaked out. He understands that he needs to speed things up and keeps using soul-searching technique on Yu's corpse, as he thinks that Brat can't do a single thing properly without him. In the meantime, Snaky stops firing his fireballs at Zhao and searches through his storage bag for valuables, excitedly laughing and saying it's time to stash these treasures away. After a while, the spirit finishes the souls in the cultivators' bodies and says he understands. He put in so much effort, yet all he found was the first layer of the puppet technique. The Heavenly Puppet sect is so stingy that they didn't teach the complete technique. He can't possess another body for a while, and staying in this dog's body is so inconvenient. The spirit releases a sigh and says he was considering killing someone, obtaining the full puppet technique, and making a humanoid puppet. But he messed up this time. The first layer only allows for creating mechanical beasts. Making a humanoid puppet is out of reach for now, unless he finds Zhao Yuduo's real body and searches his soul. Then, the spirit buries the bodies saying, forget it, he should focus on finding Snaky first. Zhao Yuduo's real body must still be in the city. When the time comes, he'll stir things up and enlist Snaky's help to deal with him together. However, after he manages to find Snaky, he seems speechless seeing Zhao Yuduo's ashes there. Then he asks Snaky in a serious tone if he killed him. Snaky sweats heaving as he asks what Zhao, as he says he has been cultivating there. He didn't go out or fight with the Heavenly Puppet sect's disciples. The spirit goes up to his face and irritatedly asks if he ever mentioned the Heaven Puppet sect. He doesn't even know how to lie. Snaky tremblingly asks what he's talking about. He killed 2 disciples, so they should run. And he's escaping first as he tries to run away. But the spirit grabs him by storage bag and furiously tells him to stop right there, not run. His acting is so poor, so to take the treasures out and split half of them to him. Snaky furiously says he hasn't even confronted him about secretly selling stolen goods, and now if he's accusing him, and they start fighting, some people ask what this is, and the spirit tells Snaky to keep his voice down as they roll out of there. After a while, the two stop fighting and seem really exhausted. The spirit tells Snaky that they've made it out of Riverside City and stop running, as the Geese Descending River is ahead. He also tells him fine. He'll split the proceeds from the items he sold with him and asks if he's happy now. Snaky tells him that he should have said that earlier. Then, the spirit brings out the items and tells Snaky that he has bought these body refining pills and demon beast meat for him. It cost 100 spiritual stones, and it's enough for him to eat for half a year. After that, he tells him that they'll split these spiritual stones into half, and each of them will get 46 pieces. So he has totally given him the benefits. Snaky holds the spiritual stones tightly and says now that's more like it. Then he tries to walk away, but the spirit grabs him by his cheek irritatedly telling him to hold on, and asks where Zhao Yiduo's items are. Snaky playfully says he doesn't know what he's talking about. The spirit tells him not to play innocent with him and hand them over. Then Snaky brings out the items saying the storage bag got burned, so only these remain. He adds that he mentioned something about this mystical yellow bell, and he's not sure what this silver armor and iron fragment are. Seeing the items, the spirit excitedly says not bad, these are all good stuff. He picks up the bell and asks if it wasn't scratched by his scale. Such a shame as it's a high-grade spiritual treasure. Snaky tells him yes, it got destroyed by his golden scale. The spirit says he'll repair it later so it can still be used. But then he starts licking the armor, saying this one is just average lower grade spiritual treasure. At that, Snaky gets alerted. Then the spirit excitedly picks up the armor, saying he'll take this damaged one. Snaky immediately slices him in half, saying he knew it. The spirit tells him to keep the bell, as he'll modify it to wear for himself. He explains to Snaky that he'll barely be able to use this item once he reaches the great perfection and spiritual awareness realm, so to let him use it in the meantime. As he puts on the armor, Snaky gets surprised to find that the silver armor can automatically adjust to the wearer's body type, and it can even hide itself, so he says no wonder he didn't notice Zhao Yudio wearing it. Then he furiously starts hitting the spirit, telling him to take it off, as he doesn't believe a word he says. The spirit laughs and tells him to stop, as he'll give him all the puppets he collected. Also, that doesn't hurt at all. Then he puts the puppets on Snaky's head and amusedly asks how that is, but Snaky frustratedly asks if it isn't the item that idiot cultivator used. Their battle power didn't last 3 seconds against him, if he's trying to fool a 3-year-old. The spirit tells him with a creepy smile to hold on, calling him a brat, not to be so hasty. As there's more, he taps on a stone and says he'll use this black golden stone to help him refine an ultimate puppet. Other than that, he'll also enhance all the puppets for him, so he asks if he's satisfied now. Snaky says he supposes so, and thinks thank goodness he kept a small jade stone hidden. He bets that's the most valuable item Zhao Yudio had. There were 4 treasures among the spoils. Snaky understands that the old dog is sly. He's sure he hid something else, so he needs to observe and learn. After that, the spirit tells him to let him take him to a place perfect for cultivation. But Snaky says his tone doesn't sound quite right and asks what place it is. The spirit tells him to just look ahead. Snaky confusedly asks what, as it's just an ordinary mountain. The spirit asks what he knows, as that's no ordinary mountain. It's the Sorcerer Mountain, a spiritual ore mountain from 5 centuries ago. After that, the two of them head to the Sorcerer Mountain, and standing at the entrance seeing the place deserted, Snaky asks the spirit if he's sure this is a spiritual mine. The spirit says yes, while all the spiritual ore was extracted 5 centuries ago. This mountain still holds the most abundant spiritual energy within a 100-mile radius. He walks inside explaining that with no traces of humans or demon beasts, it's perfect for them to cultivate for a while. But looking at human skulls, Snaky asks if it isn't filled with scattered humans. The spirit stops at a place and digs a bit, saying not bad. This place will do. The spiritual energy there is plenty. Snaky says he's right. His dog nose is as sharp as ever. Then the spirit says alright, time to get to work. He brings out a huge container from his storage ring and Snaky asks what he has stolen this time. The spirit tells him not to be impolite. He puts down the container, saying this tank is for him to refine his body, and tells him to add water. Snaky uses his water bullet technique to fill up the tank. Then the spirit tells him right, not to fill it up completely, and now to toss this in, as he brings out some kind of pink-colored powder, saying this is minor tempering powder. He puts it in the water, saying it's a top-grade medicine for tempering the physical body and refining bones. It's an exceptionally rare body tempering medicine, worth 20 spirit stones for just a small amount. Snaky excitedly asks, and then the spirit kicks him from below and throws him into the water, saying he hops in and takes a bath. Immediately, Snaky starts trembling, thinking it burns. It hurts so much. And this searing heat, this pain is far worse than being hundreds of meters underground. The spirit explains that the first body tempering is always the most painful, but it's also the most effective, so he tells him not to pass out. Snaky tries his best to compose himself and says he won't faint. His willpower is 100 times stronger than normal people. Before long, a layer of old snake skin shed from Snaky's body, turning to ash in the medicinal water. Simultaneously, impurities were expelled from Snaky's body. He excitedly tells the spirit that he rushed his last advancement and didn't get to shed, but now it's finally done, and he feels boundless power in every fiber of his being. The spirit asks if he sees. He told him this stuff works wonders. Then he walks out, telling him that body refining will take 7 days this time, and since he has got demonic beast meat, there's no need to leave this place. He'll check out the rest of the mines, to which Snaky says okay. 7 days later, Snaky finds that he has grown a meter longer. His full length is now 4 meters, but he thinks this time feels entirely different from before. Now, if he wishes to, he can shrink anytime, down to 1 meter. Not only he can control his body size at will, but his strength and speed have more than tripled. Snaky rolls around with a tremendous force, thinking even though his cultivation is still at the peak of the 6th level of the spiritual awareness realm, His strength is incomparable to before. He finds that the number of golden scales has also increased. They are gradually spreading to his torso, no longer confined to his tail. He bets once he reaches great perfection, his entire body will be covered in them. But Snaky nervously wonders if he won't become a yellow snake then, like a banana. Then he wonders where that old dog is. He hasn't come back in 7 days, and there's no trace of him nearby. He excitedly says forget it. It's fine if he doesn't return for now, as he can take this opportunity to study that small jade stone he snuck away with last time. Then Snaky brings out the jade stone from his storage bag and uses his divine consciousness investigation on it, thinking he should see what this thing is. But then suddenly, he gets surprised to find himself in a different place and wonders why it's so dark in there, and also finds that it's swallowing up the light from his divine consciousness. Snaky hastily looks around, hoping it isn't the case that something's gone wrong with him. He tries using his divine consciousness investigation behind him and thinks that it seems fine. Then he checks the jade stone again and moves forward, thinking maybe it's just naturally dark in there. There's no need to scare himself. Suddenly his head hits something in front of him and wonders if he hit a wall. Snaky wonders if this jade is some kind of massive storage bag, how that could even be possible. Then he again hits his head and finds it hurting. He looks ahead wondering what this is and surprisedly thinks no way. He questions if these are spiritual stones. Snaky astonishedly says, my goodness, there must be 1,000 of these. This Zhao Yudio is so greedy, and he's rich? He's rich. He starts drooling, saying there are also some pieces with particularly neat shapes. They have thicker spiritual energy. He can't let that old dog know about this, otherwise they'll definitely be stolen away. But then, Snaky confusedly wonders why these spirit stones are moving, as the shaped ones start trembling. Suddenly, one comes flying at him and hits his face hard, which hurts him. A few high-grade spirit stones flew toward the shocked Snaky's gaping mouth as if they were sentient. Because of that, he laboredly says he's going to die. His stomach is so painful, it's going to burst. But then, he gets surprised to find that the divine cauldron is reacting. The golden dragon demon spirit comes out and starts taking in the spirit stones at a tremendous rate. So Snaky wonders if it's devouring the spirit stones. He confusedly wonders what's going on, if it's just devouring the ones with whole shapes, so if this cauldron is quite picky with its food. After a while, Snaky finds that his stomach has calmed down, so he questions what's going on. He says he would need to ask the old dog when he gets back what these spirit stones are. Right then, he hears the spirit screaming, calling his name and telling him to save him. Snaky gets surprised by that and wonders if it got into trouble again, why one thing is happening after the other. He uses his divine sense and finds the spirit coming at him running and crying, telling him to quickly spit fire at him, as tons of creepy ants are running after him and getting on his body. Snaky frustratedly asks what the hell if he destroyed an ant nest, as he tells him not to drag him down if he's trying to die, and to spit fire himself. The spirit screams at him that this thing can counter him. He has used up all his fire explosive talismans, and his true energy is almost depleted. Then Snaky asks if he doesn't have the treasure to protect himself, and the spirit tells him that they can burrow into the gaps of the silver armor. Snaky frustratedly says this damn dog and goes underground using his earthen escape technique, telling the spirit that if he dies one day, it'd be because of him. Then as Snaky comes out in front of the spirit, he starts charging his fireball and tells him to activate his armor. Seeing him, the spirit excitedly says he's finally there. He tells him that he trusts him and this is his final true energy as he activates his armor, and immediately, Snaky throws insanely powerful flames toward him. The spirit finds the ants burnt to a crisp and tells Snaky it's done. The power of his fireball has increased again. But then, he says wait, no, a whole bunch of them just burrowed out from underground. At that, Snaky frustratedly tells him to come there quickly. He can't deal with this number 2, so he picks him up with his tail and tries to escape, screaming run. The spirit says damn you, he was so cool just now, and tells him to use the earthen escape technique and escape. Then as they go up through the ground, the spirit excitedly tells Snaky that his speed is so fast, his earthen escape technique has improved again. But Snaky asks what's the point, these ants aren't giving up. The spirit tells him to escape to Yanluo River, and they'd be safe. After a while, they reach the bank of Yanluo River, and Snaky asks what they should do now, if they are swimming over, if that isn't suicide. But the spirit tells him no need to be scared to watch this, as he brings out a huge fan and stands on it chanting, 10,000 miles wind, heaven and earth to gather at his feet, then tells Snaky to come quickly, and Snaky astonishedly asks if this is Zhao Yiduo's fan. After that, the two of them take off and Snakey frustratedly asks if he's still hiding treasures behind his back. As expected, he can't trust him. The spirit tells him to stop talking nonsense, as they should fly over the river first. Then Snakey hurriedly looks back saying, "Oh right, the ants," but seeing them still in the ground, he confusedly asks if they aren't coming out. He laughs and says so they are scared of the sun. They're fine now. Then he asks the spirit what the deal with these white ants, how he angered them. The spirit explains that those are called spirit-gnawing ants. They eat spirit stones for a living and usually gather together to hibernate in the underground mines. He adds that as long as spirit stones appear, they will devour them like crazy, and they love bodies abundant with spiritual energy like his the most, which causes Snakey to start sweating. He asks the spirit if he said that they suddenly went berserk because of spirit stones, then how far they can sense the spirit stones. The spirit says they can sense ordinary spirit stones about 100 meters away. They can smell the high-grade ones thousands of meters away, and supreme-grade spirit stones are even worse, as they'll let the entire ant nest go berserk. Then he asks Snakey why he asked this, and Snakey stutteringly says nothing. He was just curious, thinking those spirit stones must be supreme grade, so he's afraid that the problem this time might have been caused by him. After a while, a storm starts brewing and Snakey surprisedly asks if the weather suddenly turned bad, if his fan will be fine. The spirit says there should be no problem. After all, this is. Right then, a lightning bolt comes down and falls on their fan, which shocks them. Then Snakey worriedly asks this is what? And the spirit nervously says lower grade spiritual treasure, as the fan is torn apart from the middle. And the spirit asks Snakey why he's getting further away from him. They fall into the water and Snakey screams he's getting dizzy. Why? The spirit tells him that this is the vortex he told him about, and Snakey says its suction power is too strong, so he can't do anything. But then he thinks no, they would really die if this goes on. He can only try to shrink his body and lessen the force received. So he used the water bomb to propel himself. As he does that, and somewhat manages to control his trajectory. Snakey understands that though he can't go backward for the time being, at least he stabilized himself. Then he calls the old dog and tells him to use water bomb with his dog paddle and rush against the current. However, he gets worried as he can't find the spirit nowhere and uses his divine sense frustratedly, saying the old dog was dragged into the vortex. Then Snakey finds that spirit drawing into the river and says what the hell, this old is too trash. He asks if it isn't right that he would die if he dives down, so he's not going to save him. However, Snakey still dives into the water and grabs hold of the spirit, frustratedly wondering why he went after him. At that moment, he notices some big circle of hills underwater and wonders if they're the cause of the vortex. Then he enlarges his body, thinking his golden scales can't slice water, but they can slice them, as he swings his tail at the hills and breaks them. At that, the vortex subsides. After that, Snakey brings the spirit to the shore and seems relieved as he says they're finally safe, but he wonders why he isn't walking up. He hopes that he doesn't have to resuscitate him like humans. Then he says no, that's too disgusting, they might as well kill him. At this moment, a phrase appeared in Snakey's mind, beat a drowning dog, and he starts beating the spirit with his tail excitedly, saying this suits him more. After some time, the spirit gets up and Snakey says it's really useful, he's now his life savior. But the spirit remains speechless, so Snakey checks him, asking if he has become dumb, if he's still not awake. Then he wonders why he doesn't ask him about those supreme grade spirit stones while he's still out of it, so he tells the spirit in a low voice to let him ask something, and the spirit listens. Snakey says he has a beast friend who said that he saw a square spirit stone. Immediately, the spirit gets shocked and asks if he has whole supreme grade spirit stones cut straight from the spirit veins.